All right. Theoretically, we are live. That looks live. Hello, everyone. How you doing this election day? You ready to find out how screwed we are? We've already got opinions. Most of these are from earlier today in the chat, but Fish from the Shark said very. Opening Shift 101 said extremely. Biggie said we're screwed nonetheless. Doesn't matter who gets the crown. That's true. Hmm. Ethan Bateman says, I hope we get less than 5%. I'm guessing he means more than 5% and for JoJo. And Marco Polo says the only way we're not going to get screwed is if Joe becomes president. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love for that to happen, but the press has been ignoring her even more, that because at least libertarian candidates in the past, they've had like a couple of interviews and town halls with them and things like that. It hadn't been much, but has there been anything with JoJo? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fishron says, royally effing screwed. Oh god, I hope JoJo at least gets a mention. And hello to Pangea, Pierre, Captain Dogfood. Marco Polo says he's doing well. And Murray Roth and Murray Rothbard is in the chat too. Yeah, we were talking. This is Shane Lackey. He's been around a while, but yeah, we were talking before the chat about the whole thing about Trump being racist because he mispronounced Kamala Harris's name. And it's like, do you have any idea how many times in my life I've been called Sean? It's a get one of those Kung dialects. Yeah. Do you get that, Shane? I'm talking to Shane Lackey in the chat. Do you get people calling you Sean? Because my friend Sean Ha, who ran for governor of North Carolina as a libertarian, he told me he got called Shane all the time. So I don't know. I guess those names are interchangeable to people. Consumer says he likes the new setup. Yes, please let me know what you think about this. I was just kind of playing around with Blender and decided to do this because I figured something like this would be easier than setting up the green screen every time. What is your prediction? My prediction is we're screwed. That's it. Oh, we got some more states coming in. Just while we've been talking, yeah. I have Illinois' Biden. Oh, you meant Biden. Okay, yeah. It's 80. Yeah, Shane Lackey says he gets Sean all the time. Yep. Mm. Yep. There can be only one. I thought it was 90. Yeah. Can't hear Fenrir. They say they can't hear you. This was working just before I went live. Hang on. What the frick is going on here? This should be it. Try it again, Darth.
Are you sure you can't hear me, Pipsqueak?
All right, can you hear him now?
Oh, Inquisitor's in.
Cool.
Ron Paul is older than Biden and Trump, and yet he still destroyed both in the debate. Well, yeah, that's the reason why when he ran, they did everything to make sure he stayed out of the debates.
Just checking on the philosopher and dark. All that's missing is Liberty Doll. I think she is doing a live stream for this.
Yeah, Pip can hear me now.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, good to have you while we do, Bradley.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently a lot of people have told me that in other parts of the world they're nervous because they're afraid if Trump wins, World War III is gonna start. Yeah.
See, I'm still getting on the North Carolina Board of Elections website 0 precincts reporting. So I don't know why Politico has this about Republicans having the lead in North Carolina. I mean, are they going by exit polling or what? I don't know. Yeah, same thing with Texas, because they've got Texas as blue and striped, meaning Biden has the lead. But, I mean, if they haven't,
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of times what they do call a state, I'm not sure how Politico does this, but it's like, oh, we've got 4% of the precincts reporting, so we're calling it for this candidate. It's like, what?
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of, because I was reading about the 2000 election, and a lot of people were insisting that, it was rigged in favor of Bush, but then it was later revealed that, contrary to what, the media was saying, Al Gore may not have had, a big victory as a lot, way more votes than they did, and there was actually a legitimate error with a lot of the voting machines. It wasn't, now, contrary to popular belief, it wasn't voting fraud, rather it was just because a lot of them were implementing those machines and they miscounted, so that's what happened.
Yeah.
Basically, they miscounted, they mishandled the voting, and nobody know who was who. And finally, basically, they did that where they showed that George Bush had a lead. They're just like, you know what? That's it. George Bush has a lead in Florida. Give it to Florida. And people were saying, but Florida didn't finish counting it. It's like, doesn't matter. Let's get this over with.
JC Armitage, people say that not all of the votes will be counted tonight. Well, what they're saying is they've got all these mail-in ballots this year because a lot of states freaked out about COVID. So that's, I know the way it's worked with North Carolina in the past is, and I know the mail-in ballots aren't the same, but with the absentee ballots, you have the precincts reporting the normal vote today, but then over the course of like the next week, they'll be counting up the absentee ballots and certifying it, and then I think a week from today they do the final certified results. But
and also, we were also talking about this, before the live stream started. But I was pointing this out to Shane. I think another reason why people get so obsessed with the presidential race is simple, because they want to distract from the Senate and Congress, because all these, presidential debates promise they're going to do this and this, but the sad truth is that a lot of the stuff that they're fighting has already been signed into law. And Shane told me that only Congress can really actually repeal a law, basically.
Right. Blake Pettis, Florida's 86% and Trump is leading. Yeah, that's what Politico has. They have Florida as red stripey. But they're not counting them as electoral votes until they go solid one way or the other.
Actually, Shane, here's another funny thing I heard some people say. They were talking about how if Trump wins, there's going to be more riots, and I jokingly said, oh, there's going to be riots no matter who wins. If Trump wins, there's going to be riots because people are going to be sore that Biden lost, and if Biden wins, people are going to riot because they're like, yeah, Biden's in charge now. Now I can riot and get away with it. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I'm all for the state being somewhat hands off, but there were plenty of cases where there were riots, and it was pretty clear these people were causing massive amounts of damage and threatening people. And a lot of the Democratic leaders were like, "Oh yeah, let him go. He didn't do much damage. Let him go."
Yeah, they've been predicting Texas going blue. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but
yeah.
The weird thing is how much of a push Biden's been trying to do in Minnesota, which has gone Democrat in every election since like 1972. And so it's like, why is Biden worried about Minnesota? There was something weird going on there. Liram says he's voting. Let us know if you're voting. Did you vote? I did early voting last week for JoJo and to try and get our governor out.
I do agree, Lackey. Even if Biden does win, he's not going to last a second term because...
No.
Yeah, he won't.
If Biden win, Biden's presidency is going to be such a spectacular failure that it's just going to mean a landslide for Republicans in 2024.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Or it might even be a rare case, where the Speaker of the House is going to become president because everyone's going to be like, Biden is unfit to rule. Then Kamala Harris is going to be like, yes, that means I'm president now. And they're going to be like, hell no. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not calling them, JC. They're just saying, and I don't know what lead means because they've had North Carolina leading for a while with no precincts actually reporting. And they still have that, and still 0 precincts reporting, according to the Board of Elections. So, yeah. I don't know. I guess those are exit polls. I don't know.
Oh yeah, and if the Republicans do regain the majority of the Senate, a lot of the Biden supporters are gonna be like, oh, why are the Republicans, abusing these loopholes to get the stuff they want in? And it's like, it was Democrats who initially wanted it. Like how it was Democrats, because they wanted to get Obamacare out, so they implemented that rule that says if you get a majority rule, you can undo what that thing you mentioned about Congress. What was that again?
The nuclear option.
Yeah, basically, because the normal thing is that you have to get, like a 60% vote to get something implemented, but to overrule, but like if it's declared we're not going to implement it, to overrule the decision, you have to get 67%. But then they pushed for that loophole where if you get 51%, you can overrule the guy who said no 60%. No, you didn't get 60%, so you can't do it.
246 TNT, a BitChute was back. I checked it a little bit before we went live. It was just one of those things where it was a gateway error, and those things happen, and that's all Cloudflare can do is report the gateway error, and everyone was like, oh no, they took down the site because of the election. Nah, it's just one of those things that happens.
I will say, it's one political sign that I was seeing throughout my neighborhood that really made me laugh was the whole vote for Biden because you believe in the truth, and I'm like, he's picked Kamala Harris as his running mate, and anyone who researches her knows that Kamala is not for the truth.
Yeah, JC, you got to look at if the colors are stripy, then the state hasn't been called yet, and they're just saying it's a lead. It's not called until they actually go solid.
Yeah, Virginia's voting for Biden, but who didn't see that coming because they did that. They successfully infiltrated that state, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I actually heard that they were actually caught doing that. Like, people were shocked. It's like, how were they, how did they suddenly become Democrat? Because Virginia historically, has been more quote unquote conservative, and basically it was the liberals, who were in power, basically convinced all their friends and liberal friends and families to say, hey, you got to move to this state so we can reclaim it. I mean, it's not illegal, but it's like, come on, people. That's kind of scumbaggy to do,
I just don't get how people are saying Texas is going to go blue. I still don't understand that.
Yeah.
Rothbard 2024. There you go.
Yeah, but he's dead, so... Hasn't
stopped him in the past.
Yeah. I mean, you can have it. I mean, dead people should be allowed to be president. Look at North Korea. Kim Il Sung is still president. He's been dead for over 30 years.
Pip, which state are you talking about? He's talking about Biden trailing by 30,000, yet they called it for him anyway. With only 9% of the vote counted, it's stupid to call it either way. Yeah, that goes back to what I was saying earlier. They do stuff like that. The only one I'm really looking at in detail is North Carolina, which is still 0 precincts reporting. So. For how long has Texas voted red? I think I heard 44 years.
Yeah.
So maybe in 76, I think they went for, or maybe 70. Well, no, in 72... everyone went for Nixon, except for I think like DC and like Massachusetts. So I think it was 76 that Texas went blue for Carter. Don't quote me on that.
I will say, speaking of DC, you know, I mean, granted, this would be one thing that I think really needs to be done, but unfortunately it's going to take a while is, you know, I'm sorry if you live in that area, but I think DC needs to lose its ability to vote for the president because, you know, people are like, oh, but we have people living in DC and, you know, they shouldn't, and, you know, they should have the right to vote. It's like people, the reason why DC wasn't supposed to be allowed to vote was because it technically wasn't supposed to be a city or state within the US. It was supposed to be just an area where the politicians went to do their jobs, you know.
Yeah, but it wasn't supposed, I mean, it's become a population center and, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was never supposed to be a population center, you know.
Yeah.
You know, that's why it's not even
Ruggledorn, elections here in Canada never get this divisive. Is that sarcasm I detect?
Well, you know, and here's another thing too. I will say about America and why I still think, you know, for all its fault, America is at least a little better than other places is because I've heard some European people say, you know, hey, just be thankful you can at least vote for the individual. It's like, you can? It's like, why is that? Because in a lot of European nations, you know, yes, we're democratic, but you don't actually vote for the person, you vote for the party.
Yeah, but see, this is weird because Pip posted it in the Discord. Virginia, 9% reporting. They called it for Joe Biden with 45.3% of the vote and not Donald Trump with 53% of the vote. It's like, what?
You know, I will say this: if Trump even does win, I think we're going to see something like the 2000 elections. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of people saying, "Oh no, we got to question the validity. There was something going on here. There's no way Trump should have won." Yeah. I mean, they did that. They did that when he first won. You know, they were like, wait a minute, how did Trump win? It had to be Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was Romulans. Isn't the reason why people think Texas will turn blue due to Californians running away from their own failed policies in California? But I thought they were mainly going to Nevada. I didn't. Yeah, that's why Nevada's turning. That's why Nevada's turning blue. It's like, you ran away from California, and yet you're trying to bring those same policies that destroyed your state to our state.
Now, see, Blake, that doesn't make any sense either, because Texas has always been a state full of immigrants.
Well, yeah.
How funny would it be if California goes red and Texas goes blue?
I think in order for that to happen, all the planets would need to be aligned. It would have to be Friday the 13th, and hell would have to freeze over for that to happen.
Oh yeah, the whole Biden laptop thing. I mean, they've done everything they can to shut that down.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's another thing that shows their hypocrisy. It's like, they were constantly, going after Trump because it's like, oh yeah, Trump, was getting help from Russia because he got help from Russia because, he was talking because one of his one of his aides was talking with members of the Russian government, and even though they had barely minimal evidence, they still insisted that it was a conspiracy. But when we have evidence that shows that Biden's getting, help from outside sources and countries, everyone's like, "Oh no, that didn't happen. That didn't happen."
We
Like,
have cryptographic proof that the emails are genuine.
Yeah, that didn't happen. Yeah. It's like sometimes it makes me wonder if the Democrat Party is secretly led by Master Shake from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Have you ever seen that show?
Not in years.
Oh.
Come on in, Pip. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for those of you who don't know, Master Shake in Aqua Teen Hunger Force, he is such a big narcissist in that TV show that he will never admit he's wrong. And there's one episode that I'm actually thinking of right now where they were talking about an embarrassing accident he had in a bathroom because he ate some not so good chicken wings, and it gave him the bad number 2s, and he keeps on saying that wasn't me, even when they have video evidence of him almost pooing himself. He's like, I'll admit that looks similar, but that wasn't me.
Well, see, now they have Texas popping over to red lead, but
yep.
Anyway, we'll see you, Captain Dogfood. Glad you could join while you could. And right now we're at Biden 88 and Trump 66. I think Michigan just popped up red.
Yeah. Hey, Squeaks.
Hey, Pip.
Hello.
Hey.
How you doing?
Yeah.
I think you're very distant. I think you need to move closer to the microphone because we're not getting you.
How about now?
Ah, that's better.
That's better. Hey. Yeah, I have a friend. I'm not gonna bring this up too much, but I have a friend. But I have another friend, Discord friend in Australia, who I haven't heard in a while, and I hope he's okay.
Biden's been holding at 88 for a while, and Trump's jumped up to 66. So I don't know. This is so exciting because this election is so important, and it really totally matters who becomes president.
Skim
58 precincts reporting. Okay.
Yeah.
For North Carolina.
Texas just turned red. Texas red.
Texas is blue again.
What?
Texas is blue again.
Oh, guess I don't need to call in the Arizona Ranger with a big iron on his hip.
Well, it's only 61 precincts out of 2,662, but so far Biden is ahead in North Carolina 55-43.
And nobody got my Fallout New Vegas reference.
Because I haven't played it.
Oh. Well, even then it's not just a Fallout New Vegas song. It's actually a song from what was that guy's name? I gotta look it up. He was a popular country and folk singer back in the 50s and 60s.
What songs did he do?
Oh, Marty Robbins. Yeah, Big
Marty
Iron.
Robbins, yeah.
Yeah, Marty Robbins, yeah. Speaking of folk songs, that popular song "This Land Is Your Land" song that we all sing that we all sing in elementary school? I found out
Woody Guthrie, yep.
Yeah, the guy who wrote the song, he was a Stalinist.
Woody Guthrie, yep.
Yep, he was a Stalinist.
Yep.
Yeah. Actually, there's even a line in his original song that says, that basically encourages you to violate, people's property, because it's like, oh, this sign says private property, but that doesn't say on the other side. It's like,
yeah.
Yeah, you know what? That's it. Anyone who says something like that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, oh, property is theft. Well, then I'm going to come over and I'm going to take your TV and everything. Because I'm a worker, too. Yeah. That's what I want to do. I want to go to the headquarters of the American Communist Party and say, hey, listen, I'm a worker, too, but I need stuff. Can I come in and take your stuff?
Shane Lackey agreed DC residents should vote from their respective states. Well, they don't have respective states. That is where they live.
Yeah.
They don't have a state. They live in DC.
Yeah. Where
is Jo Jorgens? I think she's doing a live stream now, actually, as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm not gonna tell my dad I voted for Joe Jorgensen, because he's gonna rant about how you're throwing away your vote because she's not gonna win, and I'm like, and I'm just thinking, and I just want to think, it's like, listen, the reason I voted for her is because I am sick and tired of this game.
Like Pattis got your New Vegas reference.
It's like, for over 150 years now, the only people that have been allowed to run are the giant douche party and the turd sandwich party. I'm fed up with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of sad because historically, the United States used to have like a pretty good variety of, political parties who ran for president. And before the Civil War, we saw things like the Whig Party in power, the Democratic Republican Party, and we even had one independent guy. But unfortunately, after the Civil War, it's like, nope, now there's only two people, Republicans and Democrats.
Yep.
And historically, they were inconsistent because, when the Republican Party was first started, it was actually much more like, the Democratic Party today. And the Democrats, were the more conservative one. And then in the 1930s, they swapped places, with the Republicans being all conservative and the Democrats being all we need to get in other people's business.
I think a lot of that was pushback against FDR.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I still don't get why people are taught that FDR was the great savior who saved America through the New Deal, when, like you said, if you actually look at historical evidence, almost everyone didn't like him. Once he implemented the New Deal, almost nobody liked him, and the only reason he stayed in power for so long was because World War II was going on, and there were fears that if we vote for another person, it would compromise the war effort. Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that if World War II hadn't occurred, FDR's presidency would have ended in 1940. Yeah, do you believe that, Shane, or?
I don't know.
Yeah. That's the problem.
I think the war is the only reason anyone remembers him well. Plus the
Yeah.
fact that he died in office.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Wes.
It's Po Boy.
What's up, Fenrir, Mr. Killian? And hello, Pipsqueak. I haven't heard you, have I?
It's been a while since Pip's been on.
Yeah. He's been too busy fighting off emus in the Australian outback.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because emus are absolutely the worst animal there, and they don't have anything more dangerous than that.
Yeah.
So
Actually,
what's the subject tonight, gentlemen?
The election returns.
Yep. We're gonna see how screwed we're gonna be.
Well, we already know we're screwed. We're just going to see who's going to screw us.
I know. We know we're screwed. We're just gonna see how badly screwed we are.
It's about who's going to give us the dinner and flowers first before they screw us.
Yeah. The joke is that with Biden, he's gonna screw you without any lube and just leave you, whereas Trump is gonna screw you without your consent, but at least he'll buy you dinner and flowers afterwards.
And he'll also provide the lube and muscle relaxers for the sphincter.
Yeah. It's like that joke from Family Guy. Yeah, he'll be like, that was pretty nice. I like you. Yeah. I'm gonna invite you sometime. Okay. You're gonna call me and give me time to clean up the place. Yeah, good.
Yeah, and so far it's Biden 88 to Trump 66. And they're also like doing this weird shading on states they say have a lead, and I'm not sure what they're using for that, but Texas has been like popping back and forth between red and blue, so I don't think they know.
Yeah. Well, see, a lot of there's been a demographic influx come in from Cali, bit of Cali just shitting itself because of the ignoramuses that made it happen.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
And then you have the original demographics of Texas, plus some self-sufficiency oriented communities that don't want Biden because they want to be a little more left alone than normal. That a little bit more left alone than if Biden got in. They want to be, so they're the main demographics I would imagine that were causing that juggle back and forth. I was watching it with some friends of mine. Guy called himself John Shits in the Gary's Mod server he was in. Oh my God, the servertism was strong. It was incredibly. It was called Swamp Cinema. If those of you might have played Gary's Mod may know what I'm talking about. But it's a literal cinema theater in the middle of a fucking shit swamp, and then you got a little rocket that shoots you off into the skybox, moon, and then the background is the Earth's flat like a disc. All kind of it's a meme. It's the memeiest shit.
Justin, actually, JoJo's been campaigning her a little hard out, these last months since she's gotten the nomination. The problem is the press hadn't been covering her, not even as much as they covered Gary Johnson or even Harry Brown. I don't think they even did a town hall with her or anything.
Yeah, Wes, I told this to Shane earlier. I will say, not covering Joe kind of made me give them kudos for something, which is, I will give them kudos for something. They finally learned the concept of the Streisand effect, because they don't want, the libertarians getting attention. It's like, wait a minute, by interviewing them to try to mock how crazy they were, we actually made them popular. Okay, new rule. Don't talk to them and don't acknowledge they exist.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally what happened. That's why the libertarian numbers. If the Libertarian Party wins this year, they will become the official third party.
I think they just need to get more than 5% for that.
Yeah, that's the thing. They just need to get above 5%, and then they'll become the official third party.
Mm-hmm.
Which we do need that. We do need that.
Yeah.
How come you aren't on Twitter? I am. I just hardly do anything. Twitter is just like this toxic cesspool. I mean, it's just.
It really is.
Yeah, and that's it.
I got my account locked when I cussed a Zoe Quinn defender and told him to get Pinochet for. I'm not sorry for saying that. Person had it common with some of the nonsense they said, some of the evil they said, so I had it common.
I mean, but that goes back to the Hunter Biden stuff we were talking about earlier, because they stopped all of that because, we never allow information that came as the result of a hack. Well, first of all, Trump's tax returns came as a result of a hack. Second of all, the Biden stuff didn't. None of that was from a hack. So.
None.
Yeah, it's funny about his tax returns, because it's like everyone's, all mad, and they think, and they insist that Trump, was withholding something, and then they get it, and it turns out that, while he was doing, some morally questionable stuff, he wasn't doing anything illegal.
Oh, Trump got a little bit ahead. Not ahead, but closer. 72. I think he got Oklahoma and Arkansas.
Yeah. I actually pointed that out because Legal Eagle was did an episode about Trump's tax return, and I said, listen, the only thing that this is proving to me is that the U.S. tax system is broken beyond repair and needs to be dismantled. And what did everyone said? The classic, but then who's gonna pay for roads, school, military, and all this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, this is the kind of thing they flipped North Carolina blue because we are so far 53% for Biden. That's with about a tenth of the precincts reporting. But which precincts are? If the precincts reporting early are the Charlotte area, the Triad, and the Triangle, those are always heavily for the Democrats. And the rest of the state is pretty red. So I don't know. We'll see as they come in. But that's the kind of thing you have to be careful about when you've only got a few percent of the precincts reporting. Is it might not be representative of the whole state.
Things happening in Texas. Me a map of all precincts in Texas, and two precincts that have the most votes counted are Austin and Houston. Oh wow, Biden has a lead. Oh, how surprising!
in Austin and Houston. Yeah, I think we're getting a little echo from you there, Pip, when you talk, so you might want to...
Yeah.
The triad area, JC, is Greensboro, High Point, and Winston-Salem. That's the triad.
Yeah. We had to fix the system, so let's fix it. Yeah, I think to quote Milton Friedman, that's basically saying, well, I'm not a cat person, but I'll get a cat if it barks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the barking cat, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, my cat howled like a wolf one night, or tried to. I looked at it and said, "What the fuck, Panther?" And he looked at me like, "What?" It kind of went like it literally went. He just suddenly just went, "Wow!" And I was like, "The fuck?"
Well, one person jokingly, when I made that, one person jokingly said there is a way to make your cat bark. It's simple. All you got to do is find a cat of the same gender as it is, and then put it outside opposite of your window and make them look at it. Which, yeah, I'll say I agree with that, because I've seen what happens when cats see other cats on their turf. They go nuts.
Oh, Murray Rothbard doesn't like that you brought up Friedman. I like Friedman. I'm sorry. I know he's got some problems and everything that were, but I mean, compared to pretty much everyone else in in economics, I mean, geez.
Yeah, didn't Milton Friedman? Didn't he once? Make General Westmoreland rage quit a debate on the draft? Basically, he was saying, listen, if people want to fight in a war, it should be of their own voluntary choice and not forced. And Westmoreland was like, I will not be a general of mercenaries. And Milton Friedman was like, so you'd rather be a general of slaves?
I remember that one now. Yeah,
he stormed out. That was brilliant.
Well, basically, he was like, Westmoreland was like, "Hey, don't you call my patriotic conscripts slaves?" And Friedman was like, "Well, don't you call my voluntary militia mercenaries? By your logic, everyone's a mercenary."
Mm-hmm.
And according to I think it was Warren Buffett who oversaw it, Westmoreland turned bright red, and then he just stopped talking and walked out of there.
Marco Polo was asked in general chat of the server, least corrupt presidents come to mind. I gave him my top 4.
I'll have to put William Henry Harrison on the list of least corrupt presidents.
Because he died before he could do anything.
Well, he did 3 things as president. He gave a speech, he got sick, and he died.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the real life Murray Rothbard actually said something like that. He was asked, what president did he like the most, and he said, "You mean the one I hate the least? That has to be Martin Van Buren." And I mean, he gave reasons why, but ultimately the joke was the reason why I liked Martin Van Buren was because he did absolutely nothing.
That's a lot of the reason why I like Grover Cleveland. He backed the fuck out, left the economy alone most. The reason I like John Tyler is because he kept fighting the different he kept fighting the Fed and a bunch of other groups trying to establish the central bank. The banking wars. He was the one smashing every other Federal Reserve attempt.
Tyler never even wanted to be president. If I recall correctly, he only went with William Henry Harrison, because, of all this offer, and he's like, that's okay. William Henry Harrison's gonna serve his terms, and then once he's over, I'll secretly duck out and I'll return to law and be a lawyer. But then, what's this? William Henry Harrison died of pneumonia after just a month. Yep, you're president now, Mr. Tyler.
And he was pissed off about it.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of reasons to like. There's a lot of reasons to like Grover Cleveland, yeah. There's a lot of reasons to like Grover Cleveland. Blake Pettis says that he fought Tammany Hall as governor of New York, fought the bailout of Texas farmers, he wasn't an imperialist, and he kept taxes and tariffs low.
Yeah. If he can get over the fact that he married that he married a girl who was like 20 years younger than him. But like you said, Shane, that was common back in those days.
No,
was that Van Buren or Jackson that was the Trail of Tears? I was thinking that was Jackson.
Yeah, it was Jackson. That was Andrew Jackson.
Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Andrew Jackson did do some good stuff. Like he actually forced, Congress to not pass anything or appropriate any money until we paid off our debt. But yeah, I've actually heard some people trying to say, "Oh no, Jackson forcing to pay us off our debt actually hurt us in the long run." It's like, how?
Yeah, the main reason Washington left, he didn't even want to do a second term. Just Hamilton convinced him there was too much he had left unfinished. But Washington didn't like the fact that so many people basically wanted to make him president for life, and he was like, no, that's not what this is supposed to be.
Yeah. Also fun fact is, it seems ridiculous by today's standards, but when the presidency was a brand new thing, there actually was a big debate on, how should we address the president of the United States. And John Adams kept coming up with all these titles that a lot of his opponents used to nickname him his redundancy. Yeah, his great
Anglo-libertarian Fishron. This may have been you, but someone posted it to the Discord earlier today, and so I checked out his channel and subscribed. So yeah, Anglo-libertarian. And Buck says Jackson wrote the laws, but I think Van Buren enforced them. Maybe. Or maybe it carried over.
Well, even then that wouldn't be as well. Then that wouldn't really be his fault because if it was passed into law, then he would have no choice but to do it. Because remember, the law is controlled by Congress, not the presidency.
Well, the president is supposed to be able to refuse to implement laws that violate the Constitution.
Yeah.
Y'all have a Discord link. Okay, there's the Bogosity Discord, which is discord.bogosity.tv. And then there's the Lord Killian Discord. Okay, these are all on screen, yeah. J.mp hyphen capital LK hyphen capital D lowercase Discord. But they're on the screen. As well as super chatting through streamlabs.com/Shane Killian, where you can super chat without YouTube taking a cut, and also donate.bogosity.tv. Where you can do. I have the bit to. I thought I also had the library. Oh, I remember. I was changing it to Odyssey. All right. I've also got one on library or Odyssey or whatever it's called now. I don't know what's going on with that.
I wanted to apologize for the belatedness of the mirroring of your of the Julian Assange things that I told you I would I offered a mirror for you.
Yeah. I still need to do the last part of that. It's just I keep saying I just got it. There's so little reporting on it, and what little I've seen is so juicy. I really want to get all the details and do that last day, because there's like stuff from William Barr and stuff like that. I really want to do that. So yeah, I do owe you the last day of that. But the quick ending of that is that I think it was 2 months. That they're not doing closing arguments, are all submitted in writing, but the defense has like 2 months to respond to everything, and then that would be in like, I think it was like in November, late this month. And then the prosecution has, I think, another 30 days to respond to that, and then the defense has 72 hours to respond to that, and the judge is going to rule in early January. I forget the exact date.
Oh, no jury, huh?
Oh, no, it's just an extradition hearing.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, yeah, because if they were to rely on jury, there's no doubt in my mind Assange would be out by now.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's another thing that's sad, and I was talking about I was talking about that is, how, sad, it is that juries don't have the same amount of power in the court that they used to have, because people fail to realize that in the past, the point of a jury wasn't just to determine, guilt or innocence. It was also to determine, if the law itself that was being broken was justified or not. Because if I recall correctly, it clearly says in the Constitution that flat out says if the people think, that a law that's being enforced is unconstitutional, they have every right to say, it's like, yeah, he did technically break the law, but the law is stupid and unconstitutional, so we're going to say he's innocent anyway because the law is stupid.
Yeah.
But, nope. Now
they can still do that. They're just lying to them and telling them they can't.
Yep. Well, and I'm pretty sure if you do mention that, what jury nullification is in the middle of the trial, the DA is going to say, the jury's compromised, mistrial. We got to do this all over again.
Yep.
We got to do this all over again. I've heard stuff like that actually happening where a juror, flat out comes out and says he knows what jury nullification is. And what do? They delay the court because they declare, the jury's biased. The funny irony is that the jury is supposed to be biased. The whole point of a proper justice system is the presumption of innocence. When you're a juror, you should automatically go in and say, listen, unless you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt, I'm going to assume this guy's innocent. I mean, he's not.
Shane Lackey says, drink every time your state changes color. I'd be on the floor by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not recommend doing that.
Hell no.
Well, we got some more precincts in North Carolina, and Biden is actually down to 52%. Now maybe that'll reverse itself or stay the same. I don't know, but that goes to what I was saying. Like if it's the more rural precincts that take longer to get their ballots in, those are going to go more heavily for Trump. And so you just never know.
Yeah, the whole thing about drinking contests reminds me of I was reading about ridiculous drinking contests, and people were saying you should have a Wizard of Oz drinking contest. Drink every time Dorothy says Toto or Kansas, and a lot of people said if you were to do that, you'd be dead of alcohol poisoning.
That's what I was about to say about the color change. You die from alcohol poison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
especially if you live in Texas.
Yeah.
Oh, you'd be dead within minutes if you drank the hard shit.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've had anything.
I don't know. If 2016 is anything to go by, this election is going to be another close one.
Yeah.
I've been predicting that it might be a repeat of 2000, with all the court cases and everything dragging it on. There was already something tried to put into Congress to delay the certification of the results another 30 days or something.
Yep, you're right, Armitage. If you tell the court, you what jury nullification, and you support the right of a jury and all that, they're gonna say, oh, yep, you're compromised. You can't be jury nullification. In fact, a lot of people say if you legitimately don't want to serve jury duty, just say that. When you go to the court, just say, I know what jury nullification is, and I will implement it if I think it's appropriate. They'll say, thank you for showing up. You don't have to serve. Goodbye.
You can see the tracker on the screen, David. This is one from Politico.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's nice and it's got live updates. I'm sure it's not any less accurate than any of the others are. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and we brought this up. Another problem I will say with the U.S. court system is like even if it's later found that you are truly not guilty and you're innocent, they still keep you in prison for a while. It's like you're in prison and they're like, well, new evidence came up and it's been approved. You are completely 100% innocent. Yay! So does that mean I can leave and go home now? Oh no, we got to keep you in here for a few months to process everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've even heard.
See, that's how you know the process itself is a punishment.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing too. I've heard stories of people, who they literally served their time. They're done. They're like they were sentenced to 5 years or so. Their 5 years are up. They completely served. And what happens because they committed a crime that the state didn't like? The state was like, "Oh no, we got to keep you in for another year or so because we think you might be dangerous or a repeat offender, even if they've been a completely model prisoner."
Andre says, so who wins it is way too close to call. This is, yeah. I figured this thing was going to be a toss-up.
Yeah. So who wins? I'll tell you who didn't win, the U.S. public.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me.
Would be nice if Google gave my state something other than 0% reporting Biden is the winner. What state is that?
Who do you think is going to win the election?
Grant. Yeah. I mean, granted, I expect Biden to win regardless, but still, yeah. And who's going to lose? We all are.
Yeah.
When it's between Trump and Biden, are there really any winners?
Yeah.
I think Hornberger was pretty good. If he were able to run, I think he'd have been badass.
I think he was basically second for the nomination behind Jo Jorgensen. And I mean, she had the advantage because people remember her from her run in '96 as Harry Brown's Veep candidate.
True.
But yeah, Hornberger will be a good choice too. Maybe he'll run in 2024. We lost when the primaries concluded. If not before then, yeah. I mean, there were so many better candidates they could have run.
I hate to say it, but if there was a Republican candidate that's better than any of the ones we've had in the last decade or 2 decades in 2024, which I would think Rand Paul would fit the bare minimum of that criteria. I would either pick him. And if he was running, I would tell people, hey, you want someone that's not going to fuck you over as nearly as bad as literally any of the son of a bitches before, or at least hopefully not. Mm-hmm. And if Hornberg ran in 2024, I was like, look, you got Rand Paul and Hornberger. So
Marco Polo says the accelerationist crypto guys might win. Who are you talking about?
The what?
Marco Polo says the accelerationist / crypto guys might win. I'm wondering who he's talking about.
He's talking about a Book Igloo.
The Boogaloo Boys. Yeah. See, every time we get a few more precincts, Biden goes down, but he's still right at 52%. So I don't know if he's going to go down much more. North Carolina might go to Biden. Cal Cunningham is just edging ahead of Tom Tillis, 50.25%. That guy, that's our Senate race. That guy is completely greasy. He gives most of us, these hideous flashbacks to John Edwards. But the thing is, our incumbent Tom Tillis, people have never really liked Tom Tillis. The only reason he got elected 6 years ago is the Democrats ran Kay Hagan, and it's like, come on, at least try, at least give us some, I'm going to check on Governor. Governor Roy Cooper, over 54% ahead. Wow. Okay. I was expecting a lot more opposition.
Oh, yeah. Social security numbers are a form of collective punishment. Well, same thing with driver's licenses. That's the reason why we have driver's licenses. It's just so we can have a state ID without having an official state ID. It's like no, it's none of the government business. There shouldn't be a state ID. Okay, we won't have that. Instead, we'll just mandate that if you want to drive on a government-owned road, you have to have a piece of plastic that just so happens to have a picture of you, your name, and all the other important details on you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, no joke, I've even heard stories of people, who are pulled over, for just walking on the street, and the officer arrested them because they couldn't provide a driver's license.
Yep.
It's like,
I remember that case. It was called the Papers, Please case. I forget the name of it. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court. This guy, he wasn't even the one driving. His daughter was the one driving. They had a fight in the car, and she got upset, so she pulled over, and so he was outside of the car smoking a cigarette, and cop came up, demanded his driver's license. He was like, "What do you want to know? I'll tell you who I am," and he gave him his name, and he wasn't even driving the car, and he arrested the guy because he wouldn't give him his ID. Went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, sure. I think that was pretty much the same court that upheld the Kelo decision, so that should tell you that.
Oh, yeah, it's great. Yeah. I hate to be all short, but I got some other stuff I got to take care of.
All right, take care, Wes.
Thank you all for having me, and I'll see you guys later, dude.
We'll see ya.
Bill Gossett, guys. Keep watching Bill Gossett. And keep watching Shane Killian. You'll actually learn something.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Forget about what your school taught you. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I don't know if he's still on here, but I was talking to McPhee, also known as Inquisitor, because he's still in school. This is his final month, and he says he loves bringing up all the stuff he's learned and talking about the bullcrap they teach you in school history, and like just how many people are shocked, like if they do believe, it's like, because I mean, let's face it, the way most schools teach you is government invented electricity and created the earth. Yeah. It's just like
my daughter is so frustrated right now because, and this is one reason I'm surprised that Roy Cooper is getting so much support, because he's done this whole, we're locking down, no we're not, yes we are, no we're not, we're going back to school, no we're not, we're doing school online, no we're back to school. It's like, oh my God, pick a policy. And my daughter's really frustrated because she kind of rather go to school, because if she can concentrate better in that environment, she can talk to the teacher more easily, that kind of thing. And it's like, just let us go back to school. Never thought I'd hear my daughter say, just let us please go back to school, but that's what she's saying.
Well, to be fair, I mean, contrary to popular belief, it's not that kids hate school, it's that they hate, the loss of control they have, because it's like, yeah, he has a daughter, he also has a son. You didn't know that, Fishron?
And 2 stepdaughters.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because of your third wife.
Yep.
Yeah. Do they live with you, or are they adults now?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, she actually has a third who's an adult. She lives in Arizona. I haven't even met her yet.
Oh. Lives in Arizona.
Yeah. Because we haven't managed to get out that way. She hasn't managed to come out this way. But yeah, the UK is doing a second lockdown. This was crazy because all these scientists came out and said, look, the whole lockdown thing was only supposed to be for 4 weeks, just to give, the healthcare systems enough time to gear up and get prepared for it. That was the only thing. It was just supposed to be for 4 weeks. This is ridiculous. And then the British news media saying, see, the scientists are saying we should lock down for at least another 4 weeks. It's like, that's not what they said. Yeah. But yep, they're locking down again.
Yeah, Checkmate wants to know, what's one control policy you actually do like?
The Weaver stance.
Yeah. I saw a joke like that one time. It's like here's a list of gun control rules that actually make sense. Number 1, the gun is always loaded. 2, keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. 3, always check what's beyond your target. And 4, don't aim the gun at anything you don't intend to shoot.
Okay, 32% of precincts in North Carolina, Biden's lead down to 51.66%. See, that's what I was talking about. You never can tell.
Star-Lord J, have you seen France? Why? What's wrong with France?
I've seen Queenie's underpants. David R., I noticed Texas is blue. Well, they're just kind of predicting it, I guess. They say it leads blue, but it hasn't been a... But yeah, they've been talking about Texas swinging blue. That doesn't make any sense to me, but I don't know.
Unironically, the best way to stop COVID is to infect as many healthy people as possible and create herd immunity. Yet that's what Sweden did.
Yeah? Lock down and protect the at-risk population. Do targeted lockdowns, targeted protections, and let everyone else go back to their lives.
Yeah. I think that's another thing, too, that also was, what happened when people were talking about, locking down. It's not like they were saying, oh, yeah, you got to lock down, shut everything down. They were just saying, no, you got to protect, people who are old or have compromised immune systems, but everyone else who's healthy and will easily survive the infection, yeah, let them do whatever. In fact, if anything, it's good for them to go out, But no, that does not mean, ladies, you should throw a pox party. That's not a good thing.
No, it's not. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I think what I had said before, looking at the polls and everything, because they were predicting North Carolina and Pennsylvania going for Biden, and I figured out that if they were wrong about just those 2 states, that would be enough to swing it to Trump. Now, they've got them leaning blue right now, but we'll see as the precincts come in. Still 88-72, nothing really new to...
Yeah, speaking of gun control, though, I recently read, about Biden's Biden's, gun control policy and how basically he wants to declare any gun that has more than 10 rounds to be an assault weapon and all that. And here's the thing, I'm all pro Second Amendment, and I do agree that Second Amendment people should stand up, should stand up for their gun rights. But a lot of people have said we still shouldn't be panicking, because even if he does win, it's very unlikely he's going to implement these strong gun controls. Because here's the thing, Barack Obama wanted to pass really, really tough gun control laws, and basically he was stopped at every... And I mean, heck,
you're cutting out.
What?
You're cutting out.
Oh, sorry.
But what I think is interesting is that this year, because of, I think partly because of COVID and partly because of all of the, the riots and the thing, there have been a lot of blacks and women and poor people who normally vote Democrat, buying guns for the first time.
Oh yeah,
the gun control thing is even worse than what most people think. Is what it actually says is like they're trying to define assault weapon as any weapon with the ability to accept a magazine over 20 rounds, and I just look at that and go, that's just the ability to accept a magazine then, because they're trying to define assault weapon based on the magazine.
Well, and that's you just put in a bigger magazine. Yeah,
exactly. You can make a magazine with 1,000 rounds as long as it actually fits into the mag well, engages with the action. Congratulations, you just created an assault. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's like that meme. It's like that meme about the. It's like that meme about the handgun where the magazine extends down and just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, or the famous, because there were glitches with Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl, it's like, you see, Ivan, and it shows a guy holding a pistol, but because of an animation error, he's holding it like a rifle, so his hand is in front of the pistol.
When you hold pistol like me, you never shoot the inaccurate for fear of shooting fingers.
Yeah, or that one AK that has that mag that actually goes past it. It's like, you see, Ivan, when you shoot, the bullet hit the magazine and cause shrapnels, no guaranteeing you'll hit something. Yeah. Or my personal favorite is that scene where they're throwing an old T-64 into the ocean as a means of disposal, but the caption reads, "Go destroy enemy sub for the motherland." Yeah, I don't know.
T-55s into the ocean.
Yeah, I don't know about a submersible tank, but I do know that during World War II, Russia literally tried to make a flying tank. Yeah. It actually worked, but the problem was that in order to get it, light enough so it could be flown into battle, they had to remove the armor and most of the heavy guns. So basically, it was a scout tank with a couple of machine guns, and it's like, yeah, that thing's supposed to take on the Panzers.
Okay, bunch of Midwestern states and Southern states just confirmed for Trump. New Mexico for Biden. I think that's it, but now it's Biden 122, Trump 94.
Yeah, I bet after this election, a lot of New Mexicans are going to be like, "Hey, that guy Gary Johnson we had? I kind of miss him."
They've been saying that, actually.
Yeah.
They've said that if he was allowed to run for a third term, and he did, they'd vote for him.
Yeah, well, yeah, I like how Gary Johnson.
But New Mexico has always been like 2/3 Democrat, so that's not a surprise.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny about New Mexico and Gary Johnson, because if I recall correctly, Gary Johnson once appeared on John Stossel, and he says, "I am proud to announce that I am the first politician that is proud to say I have not created a single job and I did not do anything."
Yep.
Yeah. Like, literally the only thing he did while he was governor of New Mexico was he vetoed pretty much almost every single law that came to him.
They called him Governor Veto.
Yeah. I'd be the same way if I got elected. It would be, for me, it would be like, what do you mean President Hangartner vetoed that bill, even though everyone liked it? Well, what was his explanation for it? My reasons for vetoing. Teal deer. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that was one of Harry Brown's first day in office things, all the things he was going to do first day in office, like, pardon all the nonviolent drug offenders and things like that. One of them was to order crates of pens for all the vetoes that he's going to be doing. Speaking of pens, because I early voted, and because of COVID, normally they give you that little "I voted" sticker. Well, instead of doing that, because we have paper ballots here, we just kind of fill out the oval, which I like that. Russians can't hack that.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. I did that here too. Yeah, they just gave you that ballot. They clean up the voting space, and they give you your individual pen.
Well, because what they did instead of the stickers was they had these pens that they just took right out of the plastic, and the guy was wearing plastic gloves, gave it to you, and they just let you keep the pen. So I got this pen that says, I voted in the 2020 election, and so that means that this is the first election that I've actually gotten something out of. I got a pen. Yep. First election I've actually benefited from.
That should be maybe that should be a t-shirt. It's like I voted in the 2020 election, and all I got was this pen and this t-shirt.
And I had to make the t-shirt myself.
Yeah. Actually, it's pretty funny about that because, I was having this debate, with someone about PMCs and mercenaries and how they do a better job. And the guy was like, oh, yeah, mercenaries. Yeah, if you want to be a soldier and risk your life for little pay, no retirement plan, and no structure, become a PMC. And I'm like, dude, do you know how the military operates? I'm not in the military, even I know it's a mess.
How good a quality is that pen? It's actually not bad. It writes pretty well, yeah. I mean, it's not like one of those pens you buy for like $3 in a pack of $10 that writes upside down and sideways. I mean, it's your basic ballpoint pen, but it's nice. It's got a little gripper on it. It's got It's not like a cheap one, not like a little Bic or something.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Joe Biden, but yeah, going back, Joe Biden's gun rules, they are crazy, but I don't think we should be too panicky about it because I doubt it's going to happen. Because, like I said, we saw, Barack Obama try to pass similar gun laws like that, and they backfired because not only did nobody approve of them, there were even plenty of, sheriffs that flat out said, listen, I don't care if it goes into law or who it comes from. If you pass that law and it's made the law, we're not going to enforce it because we don't believe in it. And two, it would be impossible to enforce.
North Carolina, 38.17% of precincts reporting. Biden down to 50.95. Yeah, this is going down to the wire here in North Carolina. And Cal Cunningham down to 49.19. So there's kind of everything to go for in that one. Of course, you got the Libertarian Shannon Bray, almost 3%. And then we have a Constitution Party. This is U.S. Senate. We got a Constitution Party candidate, Kevin Hayes, getting 1.16. So there's still like 2 or 3% separating Cal Cunningham and Tom Tillis. But
I still don't really know what the Constitution Party is. It's like
basically they're libertarians except insanely pro-life.
Yeah, it's
basically evangelicals.
Yeah, I know, because I was on their website one time, and it's like, their leader was saying all this libertarian stuff, and he was quoting stuff, but he was also talking about how, we need to go back to God, we need to be religious and all that, and I'm like, so what are you? Are you libertarian? Are you a Christian Democrat party? What are you?
And in the governor's race, Roy Cooper's lead is down 53.72%.
Yeah,
so like I said, it just might have been the fact that you had the urban precincts, the big city precincts getting their results in first, and now all the rural ones are catching up. So I don't know. I knew North Carolina was going to be close, though. I knew it was not going to be the shoe-in that everyone thought it was.
And it's pretty funny because in the election I was voting for, the only independent parties they gave us the option to vote for was the Libertarian Party, or I think it was the American Solidarity Party.
I am a little okay. Those aren't official though. I'm looking at Kansas and Missouri, because don't they usually go red? I don't remember. Illinois is definitely blue. They're blue. And they're saying that Wisconsin is leading red.
Yeah, Wisconsin tends to be a switch state, so. It's pretty funny because very early in the live stream, someone mentioned about the Rust Belt and all that. It's pretty funny. I still see people, doing videos about why the Rust Belt failed and all that, and they're still blaming capitalism in Japan for it. It's like, no,
Yeah, that's crazy.
yeah. It's pretty funny because, they mentioned Detroit and all that, because I actually heard, from one guy that said there was this one business owner who actually said that, if the politicians stayed out of the way, we could have saved Detroit and remade it into the great American city it once was, but we can't do it because the government won't allow us to. Because it's the same thing with New York. If you want to do something, you gotta file 500 pages of Franz Kafka paperwork to get something done.
Murray Rothbard just posted, guys, I have information leading to the rest of Hillary Clinton. And being cut off, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine if Trump.
Thank you, Shane. Thanks for joining in. We'll see you.
Yeah.
Hold
Shane Lackey's bowing out.
Wait, what?
Do what now?
New Mexico, 0% of vote in. They've called it. Like, hang on, hold up. We haven't even counted any votes.
They've done that with a couple of the states.
Yeah. Hey Pip, if you don't mind me asking, what is Australia's election like? Do you actually get to vote for the person in power, or is it like the European system where you only get to vote for the party?
You vote for individuals.
Oh, well, that's good, because I know there's quite a few places where they say we're a democracy and we vote, and it's like, yeah, but you're not allowed to vote for the actual individual. Instead, you vote for the party. So like, and I've heard plenty of British people say, they are diehard, conservatives, but when they heard, who was going to be the British conservative leader, it's like, oh, come on, why him? And they literally had no say in it, because you can't vote for an individual. You can't write down saying I don't want, David Cameron or Boris Johnson for prime minister. I want this guy. You can't do that. You have to vote for the party, and they pick it.
Fourth Root says, I can't believe they haven't corrected Virginia yet. So is Virginia actually for Trump then, instead of Biden?
Virginia's it looks like Trump has around a 250,000 vote lead in Virginia, with 40% of votes counted.
So should I be looking for a better one of these then?
I don't know.
I mean, it is Politico. I mean, have a look at Florida. They're reporting 90% of the vote in. 51.2% for Trump versus 47% for Biden, and they still refuse to call.
What site are you posting these from?
This is Politico. Is it the same one?
Oh, okay, yeah. Huh. So they're just not updating their map then?
Well, they don't want to, because it is Politico.
Yeah, and Shane, it's one thing that really makes me laugh that I'm seeing with a lot of voting is that there's people that have said they want to make voting mandatory.
Yeah, isn't it mandatory in Australia, Pip?
It is mandatory to cast a vote. It is not mandatory to cast a valid vote, or even to cast it. Like you can. So
you can write in Mickey Mouse, right?
Yeah.
It won't be counted as a valid vote, because you have to vote for somebody on the actual paper, which I think is BS. I think America has an advantage over us in terms of you can actually write in whoever you want. But no, basically what happens is, if you're registered to vote, you have to turn up and get your name crossed off the list. You can then leave. Once your name is crossed off that list, you are considered to have voted. You basically get given like your ballot, your papers and all that. You can literally walk from the sign-in desk, with your blank papers over to the voting box, stick them in, and leave, and that you have completed your obligation. That's it.
Yeah, so Reuters is like having completely different results here. Hang on, let me see if I can get it on the same screen.
And what happens? And what happens if you don't vote? What are they gonna do? Are they gonna shun you?
No, it's because it's a secret ballot. It's against the law to actually chase anyone up.
Yeah, so it kind of defeats the point, you know. That's another reason why I laugh at people that say we should mandate voting. It's like, well, first of all, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of becoming a democracy. And second of all, how the hell are you going to enforce that? You know, how the hell are you going to enforce it? You know, and people are like, well,
you can tear your vote paper in half and throw it in the bin if you want. Like, the people running the voting station are actually required by law to go fish it out of the bin and put it in the box, because that is still technically your vote. But no, you're like, you can fucking do whatever to your paper if you want, just as long as it goes in the box and you don't can take it out of the building. That's very.
The webpage is completely messing up, but yeah, Reuters has 80 for Biden and 51 for Trump, and they've got. Why is this messing up?
Yeah, Pipsqueak. If I lived in Australia and they demanded that I had to vote, I'd just say, okay, here's who I'm voting for: me and Michael. None of you are probably going to get that.
In the last election, I literally just took the time. The last election, I basically just wrote no in all of the boxes.
Yeah.
None of the above.
Yeah. Okay, fine. You want me to vote for something? Fine. I vote for the potted plant that's on my next door neighbor's windowsill.
Okay, that's still not fitting very well. Come on, why are you being like this? Yeah, so they have, well, see, they don't have Virginia called for Trump, but they do have it kind of that light shade.
Yeah. 35. Yeah, is the potted plant old enough? 35 plus years old. Well, some plants can live to be hundreds of years, if not thousands of years old. So.
Yeah.
So if I vote for the tree in my backyard, it's like, well, is it old enough to run? It's like, dude, this tree's been up here for over 200 years. It's more than enough.
Candidacy 35 in the US.
Yeah, that's another thing that I love so much. People are like, oh, Trump can't become president. He's not qualified to vote. It's like, listen, nowhere does it say you have to have a law degree. You have to have a law degree and like all these advanced knowledges of political science to run for president. All it says is you have to be 35 years or older, have lived in the United States for 14 years or more, and you have to be a native-born citizen. That's all it says. Yeah, that's the gist of it, right, Shane?
In Australia, the age of candidacy is 18.
Okay, apparently Reuters does not know how to make an interactive website. So.
As long as you meet the requirements of, I think it's Australian citizen, you have to be registered to vote, and you have to be over 18. So you get you gain the right to vote and the right to stand for office at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, so if the crazy guy, you know, who lives in the outback in his trailer, who thinks emus are trying to take over the world, wants to run, he can do it if he fits those qualifications.
Yeah, there is actually someone in office right now who's 20 years old. He was elected in 2000.
Actually, it's pretty funny. It's actually pretty funny, Pipsqueak, that everyone's bringing up emus again, because if anything, the emu war is a perfect example of why you shouldn't put your faith in government, because it's like, listen, the government couldn't...
Hang on. Everyone always goes on about the emu war. The emu war was literally two guys in the back of a ute with a machine gun. That's it.
Yeah.
Freaking Sally, this is a massive deal. It's like, No, but they just sent 2 guys and a spare machine gun. That's all they did.
But to be fair, it still proves my point because the government was like, oh yeah, we deploy a couple of guys with 2 Lewis guns, they'll kill all those emus right up in there, and then they come back. It's like, so how'd it go? Are we having emu for dinner tonight? How many emus did you spot? Oh, we spotted 5,000 of them. How many did you kill? 5.
None.
Yeah, 5. Yeah, from what I heard, according to the diary of one of the machine gunners, they were actually pretty smart little birds, and they actually learned how to time the reload of the machine gun and when to run and when it was safe.
Oh yeah,
safe to stand still and burrow.
Bird species in Australia are very intelligent. Like magpies can, like once a magpie learns a person's face, they can continue to recognize that person for at least 12 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like that joke I told you. It's like, oh, what kind of pink bird is that? Oh, it's my magpie. Isn't he beautiful? Oh, where'd you get him? Oh, he's an inheritance. So you see, my grandfather had him for over 30 years, and when my grandfather passed away, I volunteered to take him. Isn't he beautiful? Rat fucking Jews, rat fucking Jews. Yeah, my grandpa was an interesting person.
That would be the law. They have a lifetime in captivity of up to 80 to 90 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so Reuters and NBC both have it as 89 to 51 Biden. I go back over to Politico and they have it 122 to 94. So Politico is calling states that probably ought not to be called yet.
Checkmate. Was the machine gun a gel blaster? No, it was just emus are pretty quick birds, and they actually learned how to zigzag and run to make them harder to hit. So. But yeah, Pitsqueak, that other Australian I was telling you about, Lieutenant Knives, Lieutenant Knives, he actually told me that, I asked him, just out of curiosity, what is Australia's strategy if they bypass the ADF and they're able to invade? What's the plan, the defense plan? And he jokingly said, our defense plan is we're going to evacuate everyone to the south of Australia.
No, that's not a joke. That is actually the defense plan. Defense plan. Just fall back south and let the outback take care of them.
Let the emus and crocodiles take care of them. It's like, imagine that China invades. It's like, sir, the Chinese invasion of Australia was a failure. What? How? Well, the naval team, all the personnel are in the hospital because they were stung by jellyfish and bitten by octopuses. The 10th leg infantry got eaten by crocodiles. The commander, the 3rd company had to leave because the commander got bit by a snake. Snake. Wait a minute. My son and his grandson are in the area. What's wrong? Well, your son's fine. And my grandson, he got eaten by a dingo.
If you post an American flag emoji in the chat, it gets automatically removed? That's weird.
Yeah, it's like the defense plan for Australia is literally just fall back south. Because if you land in Darwin, congratulations. You have 3,000 kilometers of desert to cross with very little water sources and only one railway line, and you can be damn sure that we're going to be blowing that up when we retreat.
I can imagine, like, if China was to invade Australia, it would be like that scene from SpongeBob where it's like, yay, we have conquered Australia, glory to the peoples. What kind of place is this? Yeah.
Oh man, I'm looking over at Virginia, and it is like a sea of red with like a couple little blue places.
It's pretty funny, Arbitrage and Checkmate. I think Pipsqueak can confirm this, but the joke is that people like to say that everything is banned in Australia. It's like, yeah, everything is banned in Australia, but the irony is that nobody can enforce it because I've heard that with a lot of Australia's gun laws. Even though Australia has uber strict gun laws, it's still very common to see Australians posting pictures of themselves, with semi-automatic weapons that are banned. And the reason why they get away with it is because they often live way out in the outback, and the Australian government's not going to send a small police force all the way to the outback to confiscate guns from a guy who knows how to use them and all that. They're just like, nope, not going to do it. Now, if you go to the big city, yeah, you should be wary. But if you're gonna go to the outback and all that, yeah, feel free to do whatever the hell you want.
There are a whole bunch of farmers that either didn't hand in their firearms or just never registered them in the first place.
Wasn't there an exception for farmers, though?
There is an exception for farmers. There are still a couple of types of firearms that were just blanket banned. It doesn't matter. They probably still have them.
Yeah. So is Trump winning Virginia? It looks like it.
That's funny about the Australian wildlife, because it's like I showed you that clip from the Rescuers Down Under, and your reaction, Pitsqueak, was, "Why the fuck is he poaching in Australia? What's there to poach in Australia?"
See, look at this. I am hovering over Virginia, Politico. They've called it for Biden, who has 40.2% of the vote, instead of Trump, who has 58%. Why did they call it for Biden?
Which one is this?
Can you see me hovering over it? I'm just, because I can't do that and look at OBS at the same time, because then it goes away. But I'm hovering over Virginia. Virginia.
Oh, Virginia.
Yeah.
Hey, Pipsqueak, Fishron wants to know. I heard Australia banned hentai.
I don't know what they banned.
Yeah.
Oh man, Texas is really close according to Politico. 49.6 Biden to 49.1 Trump.
Well, checkmate, as we said earlier.
Reuters has a gap of about 5,000 votes between the two of them.
It is illegal to not vote in Australia. They just can't do anything if you don't follow the rule. You know, Pitsqueak, that's the thing I see with a lot of Australian rules. It's like, okay, from now on, this rule means that this certain activity is illegal. Okay, how are we going to enforce it? Well, it also says it's illegal to enforce the rule.
How do they have 81% of the vote in for North Carolina when the Board of Elections website only has 64?
Yeah, I'm going to say what I said earlier. I think the 2020 election is going to be just like the 2000 election, where everyone's like, oh, Al Gore won the popular votes and the electoral votes. Why did Bush win? Then it turns out, there was a counting error. But the thing is, with the 2000 election, that was actually legitimate. It turns out they did make a lot of errors with that one.
I don't know. I don't think these people know what they're doing.
I don't think these people can know what they're doing.
Yeah.
How hard is it? Look, I've got, okay, it's unofficial. It won't be official until they do the canvassing next week. But right here, see, I've got the North Carolina Board of Elections website up on my phone. How hard is it to look up this website, go, oh, those are the numbers, and punch them in?
Yeah. Also, Shane, going back to voting, I think there was also a question on my ballot. I couldn't exactly interpret it, but I think they were talking about should gerrymandering be it was, I think it had something to do with gerrymandering, and I'm like, if it's involving gerrymandering, I hope they get rid of that. It's like
it's like North Carolina. North Carolina is like always been one of the worst states for gerrymandering, and like the Democrats did this really horrible thing with the I-85 district just so Mel Watt could get elected and things like that. And the Republicans were in power last time they did it, and so they drew it, to gerrymander for their side. And of course, the Democrats were like, oh, that's horrible, that's gerrymandering. And there was this guy, he's a computer programmer. He wrote an algorithm to make like the best clusters possible without gerrymandering, and he showed what he did, and man, it is like perfect. The state is divided into these neat little regions. Everyone can kind of understand where they are, and no one's really, no crazy kooky, I-85 or Kerry districts or anything like that, and no one listens to him. They'll say, oh, there's no way to do it. Well, there was a way.
Yeah, some of those some of those gerrymandering, shapes are just so hilarious. It's like one looks like a fish, one looks like one looks like a woman's inappropriate parts, and one of them looks like Goofy kicking something. Yeah, like isn't
Let's
there?
see. Oh, David R., that's you posting in the Discord. Okay.
Mm.
Trump has
Yeah.
closed the deficit in Texas, so the momentum might be in his favor. Yeah, he's closing it in North Carolina too.
Yeah. Though I agree, the funniest gerrymandering shape is the Pennsylvania 7th congressional district.
Is that the one, or this might be in Illinois, where it's like this nicely shaped district, and then this really long thin line to go over to this other little part, this little city, and then just go around it and encompass it. But they have to be contiguous, so they had to make this tiny little line going out.
That's a different one. I was talking about yeah, the Pennsylvania one. That's the one that looks like Goofy's kicking something. Yeah. Yeah, that should be a funny joke if I ever win, if I'm a politician, I'm gonna gerrymander the hell of my district and all that, and it's gonna look like a penis. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be and that's how I'm gonna retest the Wisconsin, 88th congressional district. Why are you all snickering? Oh, damn it! I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Yeah,
I'd go whole ham and just redistrict all of them so they're all tessellating.
Yeah, so they all look like inappropriate pictures.
Yes.
Yeah. This one looks like a pair of boobs. This one looks like a guy's Johnson, and this one
No,
looks like
just all of it just tessellating dicks.
Yeah, and this one looks like
you draw one in the shape of an F, one in the shape of a U, one in the shape of a C.
And the other one in the shape, and another one in the shape of Murray Rothbard flipping you the bird.
And then KYOU, yeah. I turned it off for a second there, JC. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, Rockaway says, I'm so used to listening to YouTube at 2 times speed, y'all sound drunk at normal speed. I've heard the
Hey, I resent that, the saying that I'm drunk.
Yeah. What
What's
are you
happening
saying?
over on
Are you saying we sound like Cleveland? Like Cleveland Brown? What the hell? Oh, no.
Yeah, NBC, I think, is getting from Reuters because they are tracking like seconds behind it.
Speaking of which, I heard the guy that voiced Cleveland Brown, he quit the job because, oh, I'm not black. Yeah, believe it or not, the guy who voiced Cleveland Brown in Family Guy was not black, he was white.
Yeah, but who cares?
Yeah. I know, I've actually heard a lot of people were shocked there. Like I've heard some people say, wow, Cleveland Brown was voiced by a white guy, but dude, Cleveland sounds just like my uncle who was black. How does he do that? Yeah,
CGP Gray has a video on what? I'm losing track of the chat. Hang on. Pardon me scrolling back the chat for a second. I don't know.
But yeah, saying someone should do that. Someone should make the rule which uses that guy's algorithm to make, the districts fair and equal. And then once that's completed, we got to pass a rule that says from now on, your district is stuck the way it looks. It's stuck the way it looks. That's it. You can't change it. No gerrymandering. Yeah. Sometimes I think we are.
Well, I mean, different expectations is one thing, David, but I mean, when you're actually calling states, that's a different thing entirely.
Wonder who's going to get Ohio. It better be Drew Carey. Yeah. Drew Carey's
NBC has them blue.
Yeah. The only good thing that ever came out of Ohio was Drew Carey.
Oh, that's Reuters. Sorry.
Yeah, Drew
Yeah,
Carey's a pretty
very slightly blue.
Yeah. Drew Carey's pretty funny, and he's one of the few celebrities that actually gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you remember the.
Oh wow, there is only like 1.1% separating Biden and Trump in North Carolina now.
Yeah, Shane, do you remember the Drew Carey show?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. Cleveland rocks, Ohio.
Yep.
Yeah. It's kind of sad about Cleveland because that's a city that, was pretty beautiful and had that, and then politicians came and ruined it. But then again, Cleveland's located in the Rust Belt, so, yeah. Well, Chuck, a common joke I hear a lot about Ohio is that Ohio is kind of like Illinois in a way, and that it's the most boring state ever. That's a common stereotype with a lot of states,
And apparently, according to, I believe Redmond is David R. in the chat, but Redmond in the Discord is posting Rhode Island being called for Biden with 43% when Trump has 54%. This is cuckoo. This is totally cuckoo.
Yeah. Cockapoo-pee-pee Shire.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah. Well, that was another Family Guy joke. It was about Rhode Island. It was how Rhode Island got its name. It's like, okay, we can't decide on the name. So here's the thing. I'm going to flip a coin. Heads, we call the state Rhode Island. Tails, we call it Cockapoo-pee-pee Shire.
Or true international emotional pressure.
Yeah. Fun fact, Idaho was named after a completely made-up word. Yeah. Yeah, the guy who named it said it's like, oh, I heard it from some Indians, who said it means, land of the Great River, and years after it got its name, they went to that same tribe and said, so is it true Idaho means land of the Great River? And they were like, we have no idea what that is because we've never said that word. That's yeah. Yeah. So yeah, people like to make fun of Idaho. Well, that's because the name itself is completely made up.
So far, according to NBC, in the popular vote, Trump's ahead 50.4 to Biden 48.3. So what are they going to do if it's like the flip of last time? If Biden wins the electoral college, but Trump wins the popular vote, are they going to be singing the same song?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like we should be only focusing on the popular vote, not the electoral vote.
Oh my God, there are so many possible hilarious outcomes to this election. I don't know which one to root for.
Yeah. In all honesty, I agree with some people who are saying they just want Trump to win just because they want all these, left-wing statists to realize it. Because for the most part, the political right is starting to realize, this whole game is there, but the left is still in denial, and they just want to see Trump win just so, the left can be exposed as, how it's like, listen, your belief system is crumbling. It's not working. Accept it. Because, like I said, Trump got into power through completely legal rules that you passed, And if anything, Trump is proof, of, what I say, because people are like, oh, we should have, like, when people were like, we got to let Obama have all this power to do what he's doing because he's doing it for all good things. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's not about Obama. Even if Obama is a good guy, what about the next guy? Yeah. What's going to stop the next guy from abusing it?
So I believe the polls everywhere close at 7 o'clock, which means here on the East Coast, it's 9:38. So they closed basically 2.5 hours ago. An hour and a half ago Central Time, and I believe that extends I think it kind of goes like basically to the Midwest. And then from there you have Mountain Time, where they've only been closed for half an hour. And I think that takes you like to the middle of Arizona or something like that. I know Nevada is Pacific Time. I don't know exactly where the time zones are, but yeah, California and Nevada and all that, they won't stop polling for another 20 minutes or so. And then you have Alaska and Hawaii, so... Yeah, getting a very different map on Politica. God, look at how close North Carolina is. That could easily flip. Virginia, it has flipped. They just haven't updated. I think Politico's flipped, and that's what it is. I got Maryland. Okay, calling it for Biden, 40.6% of the votes. With Trump, 57.7%. They've only got 3% of the vote in. They shouldn't be calling it at all, because with just 3%, anything could happen. See, that's why they keep flipping.
Oh yeah, the consumer's so right. Yeah, if Biden wins, we'll have comedy material in the White House. If Trump wins, we'll have comedy material in the mainstream media / Twitter.
So Trump is ahead in both Texas and Florida.
Yeah.
Biden is nicely ahead in Pennsylvania, it looks like, but that's only with 15% in.
Yeah.
Let's see what NBC has to say about all that.
Oh, I know a funny joke for a Biden win. It's where it's revealed that the reason why Congress wants Trump to win, even if they don't like him, is because listen, if Biden wins, we don't like him, so we'd have to stop him when he tries to implement stuff we disagree with, and that means we have to work. Yeah. Yeah, whereas with Trump, he's just going to do his own thing anyway, so we don't have to work under his rule.
Yeah, they called Maryland before any votes were even counted, so they just expect the Dems to win at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't help.
Losing track of the chat again, sorry.
It doesn't help that DC is technically, geographically speaking, located in Maryland, so I'm pretty sure DC has an influence on Maryland's decision-making. Like, is that correct, Shane? Like, is DC technically in Maryland, like, geographic-wise?
Geographically, okay, it was originally a 10-mile square divided between Virginia and Maryland. I believe it was when Virginia seceded in the Civil War. Part of DC went back to Maryland and Virginia and became Arlington, Virginia. And the rest of it is kind of like this part of a square that's cut off by the Potomac River that is kind of into where Maryland would be otherwise.
By the way, there's a lot of people that want Washington D.C. to become a state. Yeah, no. Yeah, you can vote, fine, but no state. Because, I mean, it's pretty obvious, people.
If you want to have it be a separate state cut away from the actual seat of the federal government and just make a state out of the population areas, that would be one thing. Because, again, they weren't expecting D.C. to be a population center. That wasn't the idea.
I know the best thing we should do. Make Washington, D.C. its own state, but have the federal government move its location from Washington, D.C. to Long Island, and have Long Island no longer be part of New York State. Because barely anyone lives in Long Island. And the rule should be you can't live on Long Island unless you work for the federal government.
Maryland has voted blue since 1988. Well, Texas has voted blue since, 1976? Mm-hmm. I mean, it voted red since 1976, and they kept trying to call it as blue, so...
Yeah. don't call me a racist or anything for this, but I think a joke we should do is, I know the perfect way of how DC people can still vote, but their votes won't be corrupted by the federal government. We'll just do what the government did when they didn't want blacks to vote. We'll say, okay, fine, blacks can count as voters, but they only count as 2/3 of a person. So it has to take three DC people to count as one DC vote. Or whatever the math is. I don't know. I hated math in school.
But according to Edward Snowden in his book, the people who actually work at have their careers with the government, they don't even bother registering to vote because they know that they on any given day have a much greater effect on what the government does than they ever could by voting.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it's pretty funny, Shane, because I was watching this one video about extreme restaurants, and it said, in America, what is the hardest restaurant to get employed by? It's a Subway, but here's the catch: it's a Subway located in the Pentagon.
Ah, okay, yeah, because you'd have to get Pentagon clearance.
Oh yeah.
Isn't it? Or there's like some kind of restaurant or something that is in exactly at the middle of the Pentagon in the center of the courtyard, and so it's like, ground zero if the Russians or someone wanted to nuke America. That's the exact spot they'd aim for, and it's like a Subway or a hot dog stand or something like that.
I don't know, but I know they went in there and they showed the Subway that's in the Pentagon, and they interviewed the assistant manager of the place, and they said that's funny, because it's a Subway, and it pays the Subway wage and all that, but you need to have a background check. If you've got any sorts of felony, they're not going to hire you. You have to be scanned, and it's the only job where you have to go through a metal detector before you can come to work. Yeah, it's the only restaurant. Yeah, it's the only restaurant I know of where you have to go through a metal detector.
Is Clark County the one with Las Vegas? Because Grade is saying that Nevada went from red to purple and now pushing blue because of Clark County. They have anything? Because the polls haven't closed in Nevada. Yeah, polls close at 10 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, so we don't know anything about Nevada yet.
Speaking of Las Vegas, contrary to popular belief, prostitution is not illegal in Las Vegas. Yeah, the reason why places like the Bunny Ranch are legal is because they're technically not in Vegas. They're technically on the border of Clark County and another county, so they're technically within neither, so therefore they can't enforce the vice rules there.
Okay, Florida has 91% of the expected vote in, and is 51.3% Trump to 47.8% Biden. So that's 49, 50. Okay, so that's 3.5%. So of that 9% that's left, they would have to be over 2/3 for Biden in order to tip Florida. If I'm doing the math in my head correctly. That's according to Politico.
Ohio leaning red. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, Ohio. Yeah, they have Trump right at 50%, Biden at 48.7%.
Yeah, Michigan's turning red. I guess they finally realized, look, I'm not pro-Republican or anything, but I guess they realized that the blue team is the one that's been poisoning their water. Yeah, for some reason I've been getting a lot of ads. I've been getting a lot of ads talking about how corporate polluters are polluting our water, and I'm like, where's this happening? And second of all, if you're talking about Michigan, that was because the Michigan government completely messed up the water system.
Michigan so far is way going for Trump. Depending on, both of them, it's like upwards of 60% for Trump.
Well,
what was that? Wisconsin?
That's gonna make Michael Moore
I
If I
just
recall
covered.
correctly,
I just went past one that was like 67% for Trump. Iowa, the polls don't close till 10. Are they on Pacific time or something? Or
I don't know. But yeah, Michigan going for Trump. That's gonna make Michael Moore because he's from Michigan. Yeah.
Must have been Indiana. I hovered over one state that was like 60-something for Trump.
Yeah, I once. Yeah, speaking of Michael Moore, Shane, I once saw his trailer for his quote unquote documentary Trumpland, and you know what I wrote as my review of it?
What's that?
It goes like this. Here's the review of it. Are you making a documentary that exposes the truth behind this fascist man? Hey, you, look into the camera and say, Donald Trump killed my mother. Donald Trump killed my mother? Yeah! Now say Donald Trump ate my baby. What? Say it! Donald Trump ate my baby!
There was something, I forget what it was, but it was like, it was like someone was reading something, it was like, somebody, is a Nazi and a child raper. I'm not going to say that. And the interviewer says, you just did.
Yeah. And speaking of Nazis, my friend, my Norwegian friend Boostman was debating this quote-unquote anarcho-communist who thinks that Rittenhouse was a fascist.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Rittenhouse is getting short-shrift. His defense team, I don't know what's wrong with them, but I think they're at least incompetent, at least judging by his extradition hearing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's pretty funny because, the guy Vustex, he was called, he actually joined your thing and he wanted to debate you, but you weren't available. And, he kept insisting that fascists are a threat. He's like, why are you guys condoning fascists? And we're like, we're not condoning fascism. Like, you're not giving us proof that that fascism, exists. I mean, yeah, there's no denying they're around, but they're not powerful. Why are you thinking they're everywhere? And they're like, well, look around you. They're everywhere. I'm like, where? And then he brought up Rittenhouse. For some reason, he also brought up Timothy McVeigh, and it's like, look, Timothy McVeigh was a lot of things, but he was not a fascist.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was...
He was a horrible mass murderer, but he wasn't a fascist.
Yeah. If anything, Timothy McVeigh was actually an anarchist in many ways, That's another thing, too. A lot of people are like, oh, yeah, Timothy McVeigh was a neo-Nazi because he read the Turner Diaries. And yeah, he read the Turner Diaries, but he wasn't, but if I recall correctly, he wasn't interested in the political message of it. He was more interested in how the United States government was overthrown in the book. That's all he really cared about. He didn't care about the group, that was overthrowing it. Yeah. Yeah, Timothy McVeigh...
Yeah, David, in order to be a spoiler, they have to get more votes than the spread. What are they saying about Florida? 51 to 47, but they're not listing. Who's listing third party?
Yeah. Newsflash: Florida man votes for an alligator for governor. Yeah. Yeah, if I were a Floridian or whatever the term is, that's who I'd vote for governor. It's like, that's who I'm gonna nominate. I'm gonna nominate that alligator. Yeah.
Floridian, yeah, is the correct one. All right, there it is.
Mr. Alligator, why do you think you should be the governor and not your opponent? The alligator eats the opponent. Oh yeah, that's a very strong argument.
I'm just gonna take a look at Florida separately. All right, yes, they do list Joe Jorgensen. If you go to Jorgensen currently has 0.6% of the Florida vote. So yeah, that's nowhere near the spread. And it's pretty much as predicted. Miami is Biden, Tampa is Jacksonville and Tallahassee. There's a couple other blue areas. I don't know Florida well enough to tell exactly where they are. And the whole rest of the state is red. Alahocha County? What's in Alahocha County? Orange County, Osceola County.
Yeah. And on another note, did you hear what happened in Austria? Yeah, they had a terrorist attack in Austria.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. I know it's
a guy with a pretty powerful weapon, and don't they have some pretty serious gun control there?
Well, Austria's a little bit more on the lax side in terms of gun laws compared to other European nations, but yeah, it's still restrictive, you know, I mean, it's pretty funny because a lot of people like to say, you know, like when a mass shooting occurs in Europe, they're like, "Oh yeah, but this European country has much laxer gun laws compared to its neighbors." Yeah, but that's not saying much, you know, because there are plenty of European Union countries that flat out say, "Yep, no one's allowed to have guns. No one can have guns unless you're a police officer, a soldier, or a government worker." You know.
Oh, Gainesville is Allahootchee County. Okay, yeah, that would be blue.
But yeah, I made a joke, you know, that it occurred in Austria. I'm like, oh no, what's gonna happen now? Because it was ISIS. Does this mean Austria's gonna declare war on Syria? And because Russia's a Syrian ally, Russia's gonna declare war on Austria. So Germany's gonna declare war on Russia, and France, a Russian ally, is gonna declare war on Germany.
Yes, very funny.
Yeah.
All right, the East Coast has been closed for almost 3 hours. They should be calling more states than that by now. Heather closes at 11. I don't know how long it's going to take her to actually get home
being
after.
Better than Trump or Biden, yeah. That's another thing too, Pitsqueak. If I ever immigrate to Australia and become an Australian citizen, that's who I'm going to vote for. Who do you want to be the Australian Prime Minister? Oh, the crocodile that lives in my neighbor's backyard. Yeah. Well, is he old enough? Is he old enough to run for PM? I think my neighbor said he's 80 years old. I think he can do that. Yeah, some of those crocs, they can live up to be 200 years old from what I've heard.
Yeah, there are a lot of reptiles, especially the cold-blooded ones that are very long-lived.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of this one TV show from the Amazing World of Gumball where they accidentally buy this evil turtle and nothing can destroy it, and all they can do is take care of it for how long it lives, and it's like it'll live for 100 years or so, and I'm like, dude, just get an alligator or a crocodile to go after it, because crocodiles and alligators are a turtle's worst nightmare. That and sharks.
Yeah, North Carolina is really close, Tythorn.
Do you have crocodiles in North Carolina, or is it too cold?
I think it's too cold for them. I mean, we have wetlands out in the eastern part of the state, but I don't think they would be alligators, not crocodiles.
I mean, alligators, whatever.
It got really close in North Carolina. 68% of ballots cast. Biden 49.48%, Trump 49.13%. Which means that Joe Jorgensen is officially a spoiler, at least as of now, because he's got 0.82%.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when we're going to hear one of the sides saying, it's those damn libertarians. They voted for Joe Jorgensen when they should have voted for us.
I made a funny little video like that back in 2008 when we were a spoiler for McCain. I went like, we're now a blue state. We're now a blue state. And then I talked about how ridiculous that was.
Yeah.
It's amazing being a libertarian. Your vote counts for every person except the person you actually voted for, even if you didn't vote.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing I hate about people, you know, who get mad at you because you don't vote. It's like, well, what if I don't like? Well, it's like, well, you have to vote, because if you don't, then you have no right to complain. It's like, but what if I hate both people?
It's the exact opposite of logical sense. Like,
yeah, but see,
if you have no right to complain. It's like, I didn't vote. The person who got elected, that's your fault. That's not my fault. I didn't vote for him.
Yeah.
But it's like if you vote libertarian and the Democrats will say, oh, you're taking a vote from us. The Republicans say, well, you're taking a vote from us. Oh, so I'm taking away 2 votes. My vote counts twice as much. I'm doubly powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I think? Pipsqueak, when it comes to democracy, and you probably might know about this because you're a Star Wars fan too. I think we need to adopt the Corellian system. So for those non-Star Wars fans out there, here's how it works. In the original expanded universe, Corellia was an official member of the Galactic Republic, but they had a special amendment in place that basically let them abstain from any major political systems they didn't like. Now, if they abstained from it, that meant they weren't able to benefit from any of the actions, but that also meant they wouldn't have to bear any of the costs. That's why Corellia escaped the Clone Wars intact, because they abstained from voting when they were voting for war on the Confederacy.
Oh my God, North Carolina Senate race. Tom Tillis just edged above Cal Cunningham, 47.91 to 47.85. I wonder what Gummer's doing.
Yeah, we should have that kind of rule. The rule should be if you didn't vote this year, or if you didn't vote, any policy that's implemented by the candidate, it's like, yeah, if they vote for a stimulus check, you won't get it. But if they also say you can no longer wear white shoes after Labor Day, well, that law doesn't affect you because you didn't vote.
Roy Cooper's lead is down. He's at 52.23% now, so not anywhere near as decisive as it was earlier.
Not a random note from what I just said.
Yes, but you see, if they implemented that rule, the entire political system could come crashing down, because it means if you don't vote, that means you're not subject to the tax increase that person instituted.
yeah, then no one's gonna vote. Yeah, and Congress is gonna have to make all the decisions. It's gonna have to vote for the president. Because, yeah, Pitsqueak, a lot of people have actually asked, it's like, well, what happens if absolutely no one votes? It's like, well, we're still going to have a president, because if I recall correctly, the Constitution says that if nobody votes or they can't get a clear majority, then Congress decides the president.
Yeah, it's like, well, this is why I say voting is essentially a non-action, because there are some people that say, like, voting is an immoral action because that means that the candidate you'll vote for imposes his policies onto other people. That's true for all candidates, though, whether or not you vote, because even if nobody votes, Congress decides who's the president anyway. So it's like it's a non-action.
Yeah.
And Ty Thorne says now Trump is leading in Pennsylvania, and I just checked. He's right about that. The election is closer, and I'd figured out if North Carolina and Pennsylvania swung over to Trump based on what the polls were doing, and Biden didn't gain anything, that would be enough to swing things over to Trump. So.
Although I will say that's why I would love to see a libertarian become president, because then we're going to have all these people saying, no, the libertarian's going to take away everything. Why did this happen? It's like they followed all the rules that you set.
Yep.
Yeah. And by your own social contract laws, that means you have to be a libertarian now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's another reason why, because I would just love to see that debunk that, because they're like, well, you can't.
Oh, I put that in a video one time. Yeah. It's like, okay, what if, according to your social contract, what if a libertarian gets elected?
Yep, you've got to be a libertarian now.
Yep.
Well, even then, without libertarianism, that social contract thing, it's like you can use that to justify anything. You could use that to justify the Holocaust, because it's like, oh, the Nazis are in charge of Germany, and you have a social contract of a German citizen to support the Nazis. See, doesn't work when it's against you.
So Grade asks, how's that race with the Dem and the Libertarian but no Republican? Anyone know what he's talking about?
No idea.
Yeah, you might have to give us more details on that, Grade.
Yeah, I'm worried.
The only correct system is anarcho-feudalist posadism with 3 per ingsoc nationalist characteristics. Yeah! We'll put that on a bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Nationalist characteristics, and of course, full support of true national possible pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever that raging...
And Kofifi, don't forget Kofifi.
And whatever thing that crazy peasant from Monty Python Quest for the Holy Grail wanted.
Oh, he was an anarcho-syndicalist.
I'm being oppressed.
He was an anarcho-syndicalist.
Yeah, and he thought that, he didn't like King Arthur, and he had a valid point, but I think the joke was that it's like, King Arthur doesn't really have a proper, decision to rule, but your system is just crazy.
Handing out, there's no basis for a system of government.
Yeah, it's like, well, who made you king? And it was there. Oh, that's simple.
We take it in turns to act as a sort of special executive officer for the week, but all the decisions of that officer have to be ratified by a bi-weekly meeting by a simple majority in the case of purely internal votes, but by a 2/3 majority. He just kept going on like that. It's like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, that's why
that is silly and stupid.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, people, but you can be a quote unquote anarcho, syndicalist or socialist and all that, and it just makes me wonder. Well, how are you going to ensure everyone's going to be a socialist?
Honestly, the best
Dale
theory-
Harrington versus Tom Cotton in Arkansas. I'll have to look that up.
Okay. The best explanation for Monty Python and the Holy Grail I've heard is that the entire thing is just a D&D game gone horribly, horribly wrong. It's like at that moment, like one of the players just gets really into politics for some strange reason that is stuck there for 15 minutes trying to move on. And see,
that's basically what it was. It turns out they were a bunch of LARPers who got too violent and had to be arrested at the end.
Because one of them killed a reporter.
The DM just gives up and goes, right, the police arrive and arrest everyone, go home.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the Arkansas Senate race, apparently. So far, Tom Cotton is ahead with 63.7%. And Ricky Harrington, the Libertarian, has a very respectable 36.3%. I mean, hopefully it should be at least enough for ballot access in the state. Nothing else. Trump polled at a higher chance of winning. All the polls I saw said Trump was going to lose, and yeah.
Well, they said the same thing when he ran against Hillary, so who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah. Yeah, posted my comment. Here's what France thinks about Biden-Harris. Harris is a hamster, and Joe Biden smelt of elderberries. Yeah, fun fact, not a lot of people realize what the Frenchman is basically saying is your mom's a whore and your dad's an alcoholic.
Well, that's because of elderberry wine, yeah. But Shotdiversity had a fairly recent video on medieval swearing, and that's the kind of stuff it was. It wasn't the F word and the S word and stuff like that. It was like, may a pox be on your house and your cattle drop dead from disease and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, actually in a lot of places, saying God damn it is considered a much naughtier word than motherfucker, because motherfucker is in a lot of places is just seen as a crude insult, but in a lot of places, especially religious ones, saying God damn it means you actually wish harm on the person.
Yeah, you're actually asking God to damn them. Yeah. Yeah, you're wishing ill on the person, whereas they view if you say you're a motherfucker, they're just thinking, "Oh yeah, whatever." Because they just view it as a petty insult. Yeah.
And that's why you get things like the town. There's a town in Austria called fucking.
Well, it's pronounced differently. I think it's pronounced fucking.
Even in countries, there's a lot of towns with rude names. It's just they had a different standard for what was rude when it was named.
There's also
the polls changed at the very end of election day 2016 to say Trump was going to win. Actually, it was the prediction markets. What are the prediction markets doing? That's a good question. Yeah. Let me look at predicted.
Well, going back to towns with weird names, there's also a town in Norway called Hell, and a common running joke is that if someone says they're not going to do something until hell freezes over, they say just come to Hell, Norway during winter, take a picture of it, and show it to the person that said when hell freezes over.
And there's also a Hell, Michigan, which gets cold. And there's also a Hell, California.
Yeah. There's also a town in California called Eureka.
Yep.
Yeah.
A town called Eureka. Although in the TV show, it was in Oregon, I think.
Yeah.
So it's not that town called Eureka. But... All right, come on. Why? I have no idea why they're so slow. I mean, it's not like it's a night where a lot of people will be going, all right, yes, the prediction markets have flipped to Trump. They have Trump at 61 cents for Biden at 55 cents. So just like last time, the prediction markets flipped at the last minute.
Although if you really want a town with weird names that are weird, just look at Iceland. Every single town has a weird name because nobody but Icelanders can pronounce them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shane, you ever seen that SNL parody where they had that one guy impersonate my brain just farted and I can't remember the current Family Feud host.
Yeah, consumers say prediction markets are in favor of Trump. They are now, basically, at this time yesterday when I looked at them. Actually, a little earlier yesterday, they were for Biden. So.
Okay, Steve Harvey. Yeah, there was a funny SNL parody skit with Steve Harvey where some guy was parodying Steve Harvey, and one of the questions was about the volcano that erupted and it disrupted all the European Union air traffic, and the joke was, now this volcano is located next to what city? And all the cities are Icelandic, and he's just like, like he has his eyes glaring, like he has no idea how to pronounce.
Image of that.
Yeah, he has no idea how to pronounce them.
It's like,
is it Hunrun the Burden or Jorga Bergen?
Though I've actually seen videos like of actual Icelandic people talking about that. It's like, don't worry, we're not offended. Even we can barely pronounce the names half the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember my daughter having to, when she was in elementary school, she had to give a report on Iceland, and I had to teach her how to pronounce Reykjavik.
Yeah, Reykjavik. Yeah.
Reykjavik.
Yeah, because if I recall correctly, Icelandic is kind of like French in that it has a lot of silent letters in it.
Well, it's like the J is a Y.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, yeah. The one I understand the least is Welsh, because Welsh, it was runes, and you're just transliterating. So if you have, like DDW would be the, that's how you would pronounce it. I was like, well, why don't you just have it be TH, have the DD be TH, have the W be E, do normal things for the transliteration instead of...
Kind of the same thing with Hmong. A lot of people, talk about why is the Hmong language so weird? It's like a word, it's like a letter salad. It's because the Hmong didn't really have a written language until the 1960s, and they don't like to talk about it, but after the Vietnam War, the Vietnamese and Laotian government basically attempted a genocide on them, and they actually got American linguists to write down a language for them in case they got wiped out, so their culture could be preserved at least.
Well, I mean, I can understand things like the weird symbols in the Kung language because those tongue clicks don't exist. I think there might be one or two places in the world, some minor languages where you have the tongue clicks, but pretty much it's that one region. And
I've actually heard that, contrary to popular belief, people back in the medieval period, they didn't go, "Art thou talkingeth liketh theeth." They didn't actually talk like that. The reason why we think they did is because they had a slightly different alphabet system than we did now.
Yeah. Hello, Executioner.
Practically speaking, they actually, accent-wise and grammatic speaking, they would have sounded just like us.
Yeah, but it would be like, instead of saith, it would be like saya. It would be kind of like this extra little, instead of say, it would be saya. But they wouldn't actually go saith. Awkward like that.
Oh yeah, Mandarin Chinese. That's fun fact. Yeah, fun fact about quote unquote Chinese. When people say I can speak Chinese, the funny thing is that there is no quote unquote Chinese. Now there's Chinese as a written language, but as a spoken language, there is no universal Chinese. It's all different dialects.
Mostly Mandarin and Cantonese. How you doing, Samuel?
Well, yeah, when we think of, spoken Chinese, what you're often thinking of is the Mandarin dialect, and there is also the Canton dialect, which is spoken in some parts of China, mostly Hong Kong, but yeah, there's literally hundreds of different forms of quote-unquote Chinese, Even small villages in China often have their own variation of Chinese.
Okay, I think Politico is calling too many states, and NBC and Reuters are calling not enough. Because normally it's 10 at night. Normally we've got pretty much the East Coast by now. I mean, North Carolina is just so neck and neck. I don't blame him on that. But geez, look at Virginia. Pennsylvania is... I think Trump's pretty much getting the South. It looks like Trump's getting the South. Doubt he's going to get New Mexico, but Arizona.
Well, of course, he's getting the South, Shane, because everyone knows everyone in the South is an inbred racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, here it says in California the polls don't close to 11. We know that's going for Biden anyway, though. Yeah. That's not a mystery.
I also don't get why Virginia is considered a southern state, because it's like
because it's seceded.
Yeah.
Well, and even like at the founding of the country, you had New England, which is I don't even think New York was considered New England at the time, and so New York, basically down to Maryland, were called the middle colonies, and then you had the South, and Virginia was kind of like this. It was halfway between the South and the middle colonies.
Oh, Executioner wants to join.
Oh, sure, yeah, come on in.
Hey.
Yeah, this is going to be a longer one than normal.
Wasn't like New York? Wasn't most of that actually claimed by the Dutch? Something.
Yeah.
That's why Wall Street called Wall Street, because there actually used to be a wall there.
Yeah, that's a funny thing about the Dutch pipsqueak, is that the Dutch have a history of discovering a new land for Europe. Then they forget about it, and then England, France, or Spain comes along and say, "Oh, we discovered it." We know that's what happened with Australia. For a long time, everyone thought it was James Cook who discovered Australia, but it turns out the Dutch actually had a few expeditions there, and they forgot all about it. And when the British came along, the Dutch didn't do anything.
And yet, Biden is one of the most racist candidates in history. Absolutely true.
Yep, that's the funny irony. If you support minimum wage and welfare and all these other progressive policies, congratulations, you're a racist and you didn't even realize it.
I don't know why they tried saying Missouri was going to Biden, because Missouri went to the Democrat in every single election since 1972. And believe me, I remember 84. I remember the Reagan just sweep, landslide victory. Montana, Missouri was the only state. I mean, not Missouri. I'm thinking about a different one. I was thinking about Minnesota. All the same states could be. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Minnesota was the what I was going to say. Minnesota was the only one that went for oh God, drawing a blank on his name. Walter Mondale, and he also got D.C. And I remember the colors were backwards. Then Reagan was in blue, and Mondale had Minnesota and D.C. And D.C. is so small, it wouldn't show up on the maps, so they had to have a flashing red where D.C. was. So it's like, Mayday, Mayday, help us, we're stupid.
Yeah.
Everything else went to Reagan. So sorry, I got Missouri confused with Minnesota, don't you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Minnesota.
Like that joke from the Pokemon movie. Wow, I didn't know there were still Vikings around. Oh yeah, they are, but they mostly live in Minnesota.
Yeah, they have Missouri going for Trump so far, and Minnesota going for Biden.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't mention that I'm Wisconsin, because the Minnesota Vikings are considered our arch rivals. Don't know why. I don't care. It's football, but.
The election is quite contested in Maine so far. with Sarah Gideon versus Susan Collins.
See, they still have Virginia going for Biden when Trump had it like 53 with 13 electoral votes. And so they're predicting a Biden, but if you take away those 13, I don't know what these people are doing.
Your state's not forgotten, denialist. It reminds me of that joke from South Park, though. Where Canada goes on strike and their roles get their roles get replaced by the Danish by the Danish. Yeah, they're like, so do you think that Denmark can replace Canada? Oh, it's possible. It's both very cold where we live. We both talk funny. We both love hockey, and most of the world doesn't give a crap about this. Most people can't even locate Denmark on a map.
What state is yours, denialist?
I think it's Minnesota or something.
Oh yeah, you betcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, my state, Maine. Maine is between the votes. It's like 100 vote difference between Biden and Donald Trump on the popular vote, so it might go either way.
Wow, yeah, that is close.
Yeah,
with only 12% in.
I always thought Maine was the most forgettable state, because when you ask people, what do you know about Maine, they're like, isn't that the place where Stephen King lives?
Stephen King, yep.
Hey,
Stephen King and lobsters, that's what they know it for.
Yeah.
Hey, we're known for lobsters, Stephen King, and Moxie. That's what we're known for, pal.
Well, with the exception of the lobster, I don't think those are good things to be known for.
Hey, Moxie's a good fucking soda, man.
Yeah, I actually saw a joke like that one time where the states are arguing over which is the most forgettable, and one person mentions about Maine, and they're like, yeah, well, I have Stephen King, and they're like, that's not something to be proud of. Because, yeah, in the past, Stephen King wrote some good work, but nowadays, he's just lost his mind.
Come on.
All right, North Carolina.
Overly complicated plots that you... Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
you cut out there.
I gotta go, but nice talking to you guys.
Okay. All right, see ya, Eggs.
See ya.
Yeah, okay, so North Carolina, 83.06 of the precincts in, and Trump is getting a better lead over Biden. It's like 0.7%.
Looks like a mitt. No, that's Michigan. That Wisconsin kind of looks like a mitt.
Well, they both look like mitts.
Yeah.
The peninsula part of Michigan does.
Actually, it's funny about states having funny looks, because I saw one SpongeBob meme one time, and it was, this one episode, and it talked about, and it showed, countries portrayed by SpongeBob, and it shows India, and it showed a customer saying, my country smells like a fried boot, and then it shows a guy holding a picture of Italy, and it says, my country is a fried boot.
Tom Tillis 1% ahead for the North Carolina Senate race.
His voice connection dropped. Yeah, Discord's been weird lately.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, Discord, don't end up like Skype.
And Roy Cooper's still losing. He's down, well, not losing, but losing his lead. He's down to 51.8.
Oh yeah, that's right. I heard Kanye West was running for president. Yeah.
How many states did he get on the ballot?
I don't know, but Ty Throne says that he has a 0.4% in Utah. That makes sense, because recently that actually makes sense, because recently, Kanye's been very religious lately, and Utah is infamously a religious state, mostly because
they're very Mormons. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm wondering what a Krabby Patty would taste like in the real world. Judging from what most recipes I find, it would basically taste like your average restaurant burger.
It looks like a pretty average burger, yeah.
Yeah, And fun fact, and a lot of people do believe this, they actually believe that the real secret formula is that there is no secret formula. It's just a marketing term Mr. Krabs used to make the patties taste better.
With the power of suggestion. Although technically, I guess it would be seafood. It wouldn't be hamburger. It would be seafood, the same thing.
Yeah.
Unless that's the secret, Mr. Krabs is able to get cows from the surface. He's got a source topside giving him beef, and
there's
no one else
cows,
has beef.
There's cows in the ocean. You never heard of the manatee?
Yeah, I don't think that's the same species.
Or wait a minute, is it the dugong that's called the sea cow?
It's the manatee. It's the manatee.
I can never remember if it's the manatee or the. Yeah, like Kung Fu Panda. It's like,
Albuchi!
Yeah.
Good to see you. I hadn't seen that guy in a while.
Abukshi, are you gonna call me a racist if I can't pronounce your name? Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. If you can't pronounce an overly complicated name, you can't. You're a racist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of that minor scene in An American Tail where it shows, Ellis Island, and they're asking their names. It's like, okay, and they talk to this one Russian immigrant, and they say, okay, welcome to the United States, Mr. Popolushkin. Welcome to the U.S., Mr. Smith. I've actually heard that's actually why a lot of Americans tend to have really weird names, is simply because when they came, to the place from Ellis Island or whatnot, they had all these complicated German, Polish, and Russian names, and the immigrations officers misspelled their names.
Pronounced. It would be Grace me something. I don't know. I can't get the last part.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like in the Arthurian legends, there's the way everyone spells Guinevere, but the Welsh spelling, because those legends are primarily, it was like GWNHFRVWR or something like that is Guinevere. And you're looking there going, can I buy a vowel, please?
Yeah.
I think there actually is the E, GWEN, but then it goes like HFVYWR, something like that.
No, I know what the Krabby Patty secret formula is. The secret formula is the episode ends. Yeah, that was one of the episodes they did.
Oh, here it is. I got it. I pulled it up. GWENHWYFAR is Guinevere.
Yeah.
Ooh, they got a recording of it.
But yeah, Shane, what you said earlier about, subjectiveness, I think it's actually been proven that you can actually make food taste better if you actually lie about it. Like, if you buy it from McDonald's, but you tell them it actually came from, like a famous burger cafe that won many awards, many people are like, oh yeah, that does taste pretty good. It's a little greasy, but it's pretty good. And then you tell them, oh, by the way, that was just a Big Mac I bought from McDonald's.
Gwenhulvar.
I know
Gwenhulvar. That's how it's pronounced.
Yeah, I know Penn and
Teller.
Teller.
Penn and Teller did a lot of that on bullshit.
Yeah. They gave people this taco salad and said that the taco salad came from the California Kitchen Buffet, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, that taco salad was delicious. The meat was good. The vegetables tasted fresh, and the tortillas were nice and crisp." And then they said, "Oh, by the way, there is no California buffet. That taco salad was made using ingredients we bought from Taco Bell." Yeah. Like, that's the thing that I think, people love to hate on fast food, but the truth is, and it's actually been proven, fast food is no more unhealthier than what you probably eat at home or at the fancy restaurants.
So this is a question for Al Bookshi, the whole Kofifi thing. Because what they were saying, it was like Arabic for "I will stand up." Is there anything to that, or was it just Donald Trump screwing up a tweet? I think John Stossel did a couple things like that too, where he just went to like KFC and then did the chicken up differently and told people it was like health food and
Yeah, you can thank John Stossel for why I'm a libertarian, because he was the one who made me a libertarian, because I saw a Michael Moore documentary, and I'm like, this is so full of bullshit. There, it has to be wrong. So I was looking up, videos to debunk it, and I saw his interview where he reviewed Michael Moore on Cuba and basically destroyed him.
Yeah, it's the American Independence Party, Anonymous, not independent. But yeah, so if they just nominated Kanye West, then yeah. Okay, so Al-Bukhshi says, no truth to that, Trump just can't type for shit. But it's like, what people were doing was they were going to Google Translate, and if you go to Arabic and you type COV and it's based to convert it, it becomes like soft or something like that, which means will. And then you do, you erase that and you do FE apostrophe FE, and that's I forget the pronunciation of that, but that means stand or stand up or something like that. So they were saying it means I will stand.
Samuel Shott wants to know, how factual is John Stossel? He's pretty factual.
He's good, yeah. He's good, yeah.
And one thing too that I really respect him for, and he stated this, is that when he does get something wrong, he admits it. He would go on his tweet, and here's another thing, because he used to be a statist too. When he was younger, he used to be a consumer reporter, and he says he regrets doing that stuff, and he was wrong, which I will say that is something you don't see about mainstream media, Well,
I think, Grade, what it was he was trying to be COV for press coverage, and then something happened and it got the Fifi, but I don't know if the phone was snatched from his hand or what. I became libertarian thanks to Penn and Teller. That's cool, Greyhound.
Yeah.
Seeing Cult of Dusty completely freak out if Trump wins would be fun. I remember people tasting the same wine from two different bottles. They did one thing with a bunch of these wine connoisseurs. And I remember, like, one of the things was it was white wine with red food coloring, and had them totally snowed into thinking it was red wine and stuff like that. And the box wine got the same ratings as the...
Yeah. Or not to mention, there was one wine connoisseur where they tricked, some people into thinking that the wines were different when it was literally the same wine, the same color, and made with the same ingredients. The only difference is that one was chilled in the fridge for 5 minutes before it was served.
Well, Al-Bukhshi says Arabic doesn't have these. When you type that in, and it shows it on the bottom, it respells it to SAWF. So it's like an F, not a V.
Yeah, at least it's not Aramaic. Aramaic is a...
I mean, I can tell you exactly. Hang on, I'll just go and do it. And you can tell us what that is. It may be nothing, because Google Translate is not always... It's funny sometimes, but...
Well, the problem with Google Translate is that... And that's just another thing, too, that people have pointed out, is that, in a lot of other languages, what words and how you use it heavily depends on the context. An infamous example being Japanese. And if you type in a word in Google, they'll just give you the broad, general term for it. But if you were to use that language in there, people are either going to be insulted by you or they're going to be confused.
Do this. Take a piece of text, a paragraph from something, put it in Google Translate, translate it to Japanese, then copy the Japanese and translate it back into English. That's hilarious.
Well, yeah, it's pretty funny because, people like to make fun of, English and all that. They call it English. And one person who speaks Japanese said, and one Japanese person told me the reason why Japan went Japanese, when you literally translate to English, it comes off as a word salad, is simply because Japanese has a completely different grammar structure than English does, which is why when you're translating something from Japanese, you have to look at the context and translate it as that. You can't just literally translate it.
So the one I just posted is what it does with COV. And then the rest of it is... Here's the other part, the Fifi part. The first one was the Cove part, and this was the Fifi part.
Oh. Is Al-Bukhshi Arabic or something? Or
Yeah, he speaks Arabic. He's from Jordan, I believe, if I remember correctly. Oh. Tythorn, I wonder if any Democrats accidentally voted for Joe instead of Joe. Yeah, it's Joe Jorgensen instead of Joe Biden.
funny thing about Arabic al-Bukashi is I saw this one funny joke one time where a guy, where a guy is lost in a city and he's looking at his guide and he's like, I'm trying to speak Arabic here because I'm in the Middle East and nobody is understanding what a word I'm saying. What's wrong? What's wrong with what I'm saying? And in the background, there's a sign that says "Welcome to Istanbul." Because if I recall correctly,
so the second one, Al-Bukhshi says, doesn't mean anything. According to Google Translate, it means stand up, and it's fuck off or fuck off or something like that. Let me play what it says. Hang on.
Fuck off.
Fuck off.
Fuck off.
It sounds very rude.
yeah.
Fuck off. That's what it's saying.
But going back to
fuck off, you goddamn Trump supporter. That's what it's saying.
Going back to what I was saying about Turkey. I've actually in the comments I actually saw a lot of people saying yes, I'm actually a tour guide. I'm actually a tour guide in Istanbul, and I cannot tell you how many people we get here, including people from the Middle East, that are confused that they're in Istanbul or Ataturk or whatnot, and they're like, how come nobody can understand what I'm saying? We're in the Middle East and I'm speaking Arabic. It's like, you're in Turkey. We don't speak Arabic in Turkey.
Okay, he's a Jordanian citizen, but Palestinian in origin. Okay. Yeah, it stopped scrolling because I scrolled up to see it. Because with the way this new chat system has to work, I can't do the regular chat thing I was using. I have to do the screen grab. So when I scroll up to see earlier chats, it shows up like that on the screen.
Yeah. I mean, I hope you won't get offended by this, Al-Bukashi, but I also saw another funny joke one time about a guy who's going on a tourist trip and all that, and I think it was going to Egypt and all that, and their guy's like, okay, what's your name and all that, and this one guy's name, oh, my name is Johann McGoldberg. And the guy's like, okay, listen, your name is John Smith. Get it? Yeah, he's Jewish, and unfortunately, there still are countries, especially in the Middle East, where if you're Jewish, that's basically a hunting license for other people. Yeah.
Okay, so NBC has it 98 to 92, and Politico is doing something else. Oh, here we are. They have it 131 to 109. They still have Virginia being blue, and NBC hasn't called it at all. Yeah, come on in, Al-Bukhshi. I don't know. Have you ever joined the Discord? Because if you've done, I can just put you in, because you've been a co-host. I can add you to the co-host role, and you can join in that way. Oh my god, there's someone in the debate channel in the Bogosity Discord who's doing the whole, taxation is the price we pay to live in civilization. They don't have anything new. No new arguments whatsoever. Well, anyway, just let me know if you want to join in, and we'll get you in. Discord.bogosity.tv. The joy of being libertarian during these elections. All I care about are the local measure results. Yeah, it's just... What's happening in North Carolina? Okay, 89% of precincts reporting. Donald Trump is exactly 1% ahead of Biden, 49.79 to 48.79. Tom Tillis has increased his lead over Cal Cunningham. And I have to go to that other web page for the governors. Roy Cooper still handily ahead of Dan Forrest. Libertarian might be a spoiler in that race. Stephen
I'm
DiFiore.
back. Sorry, I had to get something to drink.
Yeah. We might have a libertarian spoiler in our governor race.
Yeah. Actually, Shane, as I was getting a glass of water, going back to languages, you know, it's another country in the Middle East I've learned where speaking Arabic won't get you anywhere. Iran. Yeah, because they don't speak Arabic in Iran, they speak Persian. Hmm.
All right, trying to get Al-Bukhshi in so that he can give us the lowdown on all of that. I don't know how much time we'll have. It's like 20 to 11. I expected there to be more results by this time. And like I said, Heather gets off at 11, but it's usually like another 10 or 15 minutes until she actually gets home. So. But
Actually,
Don is still leading in Rhode Island, but don't they have... Oh, no, they haven't called it. I think they have it for... Yeah, they have Rhode Island for...
Another funny joke, another funny joke about Iran is that if you are and you don't want to speak Arabic, because then everyone's gonna think you're with ISIS or an Iraqi spy. Yeah, and you're gonna get a visit from the Iranian secret police.
What do you think of preferential voting? Well, it's better than the current winner-take-all thing. If taxation is the price of civilization, then taxation means higher barriers to entry in civilization, which progressives ought to oppose. It would be nice if the taxes I pay for upkeep on the roads would be used for the roads. Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, I'm trying to get Al-Bukhshi in the voice chat. People whine about toll roads, but they never look at how expensive the trust fund is. Yeah, and how much politicians keep dipping their fingers into it.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, yes. They look at how expensive the trust fund is. Yeah, and how much politicians keep dipping their fingers. Well, we're getting audio from your end there, Al-Bukhshi. You need to
Yeah.
mute your audio.
Well,
make sure
I'm not very good with technology or anything.
Well, your mic sounds better than it did before.
Oh, thank you. That's because I went and invested in a one of those snowball.
You guys hear me? Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, we're still getting you from the background. Well, we're getting audio from your end there, Al-Bukhshi. You need to... Yeah. Man, there's a lot of lag to this.
Yeah, I know.
Your mic sounds better than it did before.
Oh, thank you. That's because I went and invested in a...
We're going to be having this conversation forever. It's just gonna go around and around and around and around.
It's like I'm on Mars trying to communicate with you guys.
Man, there's a lot of lag to this.
Which is terrible because I hate how my voice sounds over the mic.
Yeah, no one. I don't think anyone likes hearing their voice when it's recorded. It's just gonna go around and around and around and around. And around and around and around and around.
Hello there, future Chris.
Yeah, just mute the audio and just listen through the headphones or something.
I can't explain the lag.
The lag is YouTube's fault.
Yeah, no.
That's...
I don't think anyone likes hearing their voice when it's
mute the stream and listen just through the Discord.
Hello there, future.
All right, I've gone ahead and muted the stream.
Okay.
You know what would have been funny is if I, because I said hello, future Chris, and the echo said hello, past me. Yeah. Yeah, that would have been funny.
That would have been a Twilight Zone moment.
Yeah. Hello there, past me. Yeah, and it's like, wow, he acknowledged me, and why is there a giant black hole in the space-time continuum in my room?
That's one of those questions we'll never know the answer to.
Yeah.
Reuters has Trump pulling ahead at the moment. Still got to overcome California before it matters. California's what, 55 electoral votes?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Little quick question, because I was having this conversation in the chat. Do Iranians speak Persian or Parsi? Because I looked it up, and apparently Persian.
That's the same language.
Yeah, it is Farsi. That's what I was telling the guy. It's like a Farsi is just Persian that's been modernized, basically.
Yeah, it's the same language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iran,
So what was that? What was that other word? That fuck off word? What was that?
Okay, where do I begin? You want to say I will stand, you have two options. You can use what's called the near future, so something that's going to happen immediately in the future, or a distant future, something that's going to happen after a delay. To say the near future, you say sa'aqif. So sa plus the first person present tense. And then for the distant future, it's sawfa aqifu. I will stand, distant future. Faqaf, which is what it sounds like on that doesn't mean anything. Near as I could tell, the computer thinks that you can tack a fa, which means so. It's one of those pronouns you just latch onto a word. And then qaf, well, I don't know what that means in this case. So, yeah. Google Translate's not very good with Arabic. You try to do anything fancy with it, and it just completely breaks down. I remember talking to a guy on YouTube, and he was trying to make jokes in Arabic, and his it came out completely wrong. And it turns out he was trying to say, "Who will think of the children?" And it ended up saying something completely different because he used Google Translate, and I had to break it down for him. And when I gave him the correct sentence, and somebody tried to translate that, Google just completely crashed. It just gave alphabet soup, and nobody understood it. So I had to break it down to him, explaining how the grammar actually works.
Won't someone think about the children? That's why we have all our daughters cover up.
Oh, come on. That's just Saudi Arabia. Calm down. So, actually...
I thought Iran was pretty big on that, too.
I'm talking about the Arabs. I don't really care about Iran one way or another. So.
Yeah.
I try to keep to local Arab affairs or U.S. affairs. U.S. because I live in the U.S. and Arab because that's where my family is. So
yeah.
If it's neither, I don't care too much.
All I know about Arabic is that they named their prayer to God after a Star Wars Mon Calamari general or admiral.
Seriously?
Yeah, I
know.
The
Arabic word for prayer is salat. It has nothing to do with.
I was making the joke about Allah. I know if I recall correctly, all Allahu Akbar means is like God is good or something.
God is greater or greatest.
Yeah.
Akbar is the comparative/superlative form of kabir.
Yeah.
Arabic only has the regular adjective and a comparative/superlative. It does both jobs, and then there's no separate superlative. So if you want to say God is greatest, you have to say Allahu Akbar, or if you want to emphasize that He's greatest, Allahu Huwa Akbar. But more typically Allahu Akbar, because we value brevity. So
kind of reminds me.
God is like totally bodacious, dude.
Kind of reminds me of this SJW fail where there was like this I don't know where it was, but it was like this transsexual person who had Arabic origins, and they were trying to say like this multicultural song, and they were making holy holy prayers and all that, and a lot of people were pointing out, it's like, buddy, you just destroyed your own argument, because if I recall correctly, in many Arabic practices, with especially Islam, you're not supposed to play any music when you say the holy prayer.
Yeah, if you chant or sing prayers, no musical instruments, and it's generally chanting. You don't actually sing.
Yeah, because if you play music, they think that means you're trying to ignore the call to prayer, and
it's disrespectful.
And back in the early days of a lot of those nations, if you were to pray or sing during the prayer, they would actually kill you for that, because that was seen as blasphemy.
That was basically Christianity in the Middle Ages. The only music that was allowed was Gregorian chant, and even outside of the church, they'd always go after the troubadours for actually playing instruments and singing in harmony and things like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
The
more I learn about Europe, the more I realize the Near East and Europe aren't that different.
Europe had the Enlightenment, and that made it a bit better, but yeah.
Well, in Egypt, they almost had a liberal government, classical liberal government, but then the British came. You guys never heard of Ahmed al-Urabi?
And then when the British came, the Soviets came along and say, "Hey, pal, we'll make the British go away if you kind of do what we say."
It's more complicated than that. Actually, the Egyptians the Egyptians gained independence from Britain officially in 1922, but the ruling dynasty that was kind of a puppet of the British anyway until 1953, when a group of army officers who were actually nationalists deposed the king. But they weren't initially aided by the Soviet Union. That comes later when Jamal Abdel Nasser takes over, because he was a socialist, and he wanted to get support from the Soviet Union. So figured that would be the best way.
In all honesty, after reading about the Suez Crisis, that only confirmed my belief that there should be a universal law that says governments are not allowed to own property, because I cannot tell you how many conflicts have started because countries are like, "Oh, no, you don't own that you don't own that river or mountain, we own that." I mean, hell, just look at the war between Syria and Israel. Half their fighting is because they can't decide over who owns a mountain range.
Oh, that was the 30 Years' War. That was what that was.
Captain Picksweek has an interesting question, but I don't understand what it's supposed to refer to, because I'm not a Star Wars fan. You can sue me later. Have you seen Star Wars: The Third Gather's Backstroke of the West? I have no idea what that was.
I don't know what he's talking about.
I'm a Star Wars fan, and I don't really know what that is. I think it has something to do with the original expanded universe, but the thing is, I think he's trying to point out is that George Lucas based a lot of his civilizations off of actual historical things. Like, for instance, the Tuscan Raiders on Tatooine, they were actually based off of the Bedouins in North Africa. I think that's how you pronounce them.
The Middle East was more advanced as a society than Europe before the Renaissance. That's my understanding. In fact, I think from what I understand, that's why the Renaissance happened, because when the Crusades went to, I think it was Cordoba or something like that, they found a lot of these manuscripts that Europe had been missing out on for centuries, because they destroyed the library at Alexandria. That caused them to rediscover all this ancient Greek stuff.
I was watching a video by a historian. It was called Real Crusades.
It's a mistranslation of Revenge of the Sith. Is that it? Because David's
Oh,
run Revenge of the Sith through Google Translate a bunch of times.
oh,
I'm gonna
God.
try it.
no. Well, going back to the whole thing, I was watching a video by a guy called. It was called Real Crusades History, and he was talking about that, and it's like, was it true that the Middle East was more advanced than Europe than Europe before the Enlightenment era? And he said the answer was a combination of yes and no, because yes, the Middle East was ahead of the Europeans in terms of things like mathematics and astronomy, but the Europeans were better at things like engineering and whatnot. You know, it was a little bit of both, because both sides learned from each other from the Crusades. Because we see the same thing.
That's not the impression I get from Arabic sources.
Well, it's how
from
it
the
is,
Middle
yeah.
Ages, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing
I'm
it's pretty well when I'm going to post in the Arabic I get when I translate Revenge of the Sith. And when I translate it back, it's Revenge against the Sith. So
Revenge
close.
from the Sith, which is
Revenge from the
not
Sith.
very good Arabic. If you want to say Revenge of the Sith, it should be Intiqam as-Sith or Intiqam as-Sith. So there shouldn't be min. Min means revenge from the Sith, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I've heard. Yeah, I saw a video all about that, saying if you're gonna translate your your movie or video game to another language, you have to be careful, because some words, they might literally mean that word, but practically when you actually get there, they use it for something else. A famous example is Jaws 2, because they had a sequel for Jaws 2, and from what I heard, they tried to use a French word that means two, but they had to change it because it turns out, yes, that French word you use literally means two, but practically, when used in French, it means shit.
Duke CT in the chat. How you doing there?
Yeah, well, I'm actually here. Actually,
Oh,
hello.
whoa, hey!
It's
nice
been a
to hear your
while.
voice. Yes, it
Yeah.
has been a nice long time.
Oh yeah, I've been busy going around looking some stuff, and I just want to just pop in and say, to say hi to all the people in the Bogon TV.
Your old
universe
stomping
and stuff.
grounds here. Yeah.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
it's been a while, and well,
Been a
let's
while
see.
for
I
me.
came. Yeah, it's just I'm looking at these stuff, and I honestly I'm not surprised by this at all. When you look at the election, I'm not surprised because I think it's I think when you look at what's going on with Biden, it's the same old stuff. It's the let's go back to go back to what it was in 08, which people don't like that, and history shows people will be voting for incumbents are harder to vote out, and I'm looking say for the libertarian stuff, which I think Joe Jorgensen has been doing pretty well in some places. I think she got in Virginia, for example, she got at least 43,000 votes. I think. I want to see how much did Gary Johnson got. Let's see.
He got over 1 million, I know.
Yeah, for total. But I think I think she might actually make a bit more waves, and people will still blame the people who vote for third party, even though it's like, again, I see it every like 5 minutes on Twitter. It's like, oh, it's the third party's fault. I'm like, no, they did not want to vote. That the person there. It's like they don't want to vote for Biden or Trump, and that's their own personal vote. You say go out and vote, but when they say, okay, I'll go for this, like, you're voting wrong, and that's the issue, and it just brings more discontent. So that's what I'm just seeing right now. A lot of discontent, mostly on these social media sites that don't really, again, they don't really connect with most people in the ground, on like in real life and such. So when you look at what's going on here and you shame people online, you shame them to say vote this way. Well, guess what? You see this. You look at the maps, see what's going on, and
Yeah, I get that a lot on Quora. So I point out,
yeah.
well, I don't want to vote for either one, and they're like, "Oh, I'm angry. You made me upset." I've had people tell me, "You've made me upset." It's like, calm down, everybody. All right.
Yeah, it looks like Trump, except for Texas, which hasn't been called yet, he almost has a line all the way down the middle of the country.
Oh,
starting in North Dakota, going
looking
all
at it, looks like it's 2016 all over again.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, call me crazy, but I think it's gonna probably, there's gonna be things that are different because I'm looking at Virginia. Even though they have called it for Biden, Trump still has a significant lead, and I don't know what's going to. I honestly don't know if by the end of the night I wake up tomorrow morning and I see Virginia flip red. I wouldn't be surprised because I called it because the way Virginia's legislative have been acting all funky, like with the gun legislation and such. People don't forget, and this could have been a huge screw you to the Virginia legislator. I mean, that's what it is. You have to look and see this type of stuff. And meanwhile, I think Minnesota is probably going to swing. I'm looking at stuff right now. It's not even cold, but it's getting too close to call. Very close, and such. I think.
Well, Virginia looks like it's a little more decisive, 52% for Trump, which, considering they were basically trying to steal the vote for Biden, if they, Illinois just went to Biden.
Yeah.
But if considering in Virginia they were basically trying to steal the votes for Biden to try and cheat, and they still lose. When you cheat and you still lose, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, and even though I look, and it's like, how bad are the Democrats? Because you had this complete failure of how to respond to this pandemic, and seeing what Trump has done and the rollout of everything. You just look back and say, how the heck this could have been an easy layup. It was, again, in 2016, same thing. You look at it, it just seems how so piss poor the Democratic Party really is. And someone who voted for the Democrat way back in 2008, and comes from Democratic, I've been in the party and such. It's kind of sad. Because, again, there's some ideas there that people would like, but I just don't think the leaders they pick and put up there really connect with people. The only one they had was, I think, Senator Obama, who did connect with people. Hillary didn't really connect with people. Biden didn't connect with people. Kamala Harris surely didn't connect with people. She just locked them up. And the only person I saw really connect with people was Tulsi, but they took that Google stuff away after she took down Kamala back in that debate. Bernie did, but Florida would not have voted him in. And looking anywhere else, I'm like, I don't know who's going to be. I couldn't find anybody there. No one really connected with people. Looked at the debates, I looked at anything else, barely any connection with people. And for the future, I don't see anyone else from that the DNC to connect with people. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, who saw Senator Obama turn to President Obama? No one saw that coming. But who knows? I don't know who they can find in that party. So,
all right, I'm gonna stick around a bit, but it's 11, so I need to keep an ear out for Heather. So we'll be concluding when she gets home. But
okay,
might be like 10 or 15 minutes. But I cannot wear these one-sided. Hang on. I just need to make sure I hear her when she comes in.
Let's see.
All I know about the Algerians and the French is that the Algerian Revolution was controversial because, if I recall correctly, Charles de Gaulle was pro it, and a lot of hardliners within the French military tried to kill him over it.
Yeah,
yeah.
Apparently it was controversial in both in France, which I find a little bit strange. You would have thought they would have been a little bit more united about this, but no.
I've been reading up on that stuff as well. Well, since the lockdown, just nothing but time. So.
Well, yeah, that's a lot of things that SJW or Middle Eastern national extremists like to ignore. Is that a lot of the ways the people were treated in these colonies was actually controversy on their homeland, and the only reason the people didn't speak up about it is simply because they didn't know about it. I mean, a perfectly good example is the Belgian Congo. You know, nobody nobody knew that the Belgian king and the Belgian government was literally torturing people to death and forcing them to dig for rubber, and then of course they threw the king on, and it's pretty funny because the king of Belgium is still actually seen as a respected hero despite all the stuff he did in Congo.
Well, it is. It's about, again, how narrative is and such, how people tell the story. And if you have the right people and the right, people behind you, you can be looked upon as a hero, and in one side,
right.
and that sort of stuff can be portrayed to be a villain.
Sorry to interrupt. The Associated Press is saying Joe Biden leads 209 to 112. So, just figured I'd let you guys know.
What I have here is 192 to 114.
I have it as 144 to 126. I'm using the People's Pundit daily, and they've been majority right on the polling, and they haven't called anything yet for California, which California, of course, was going to go. People say California's going to go to Trump.
Reuters basically counted the whole East Coast for Biden.
Yeah, I don't see. By the way, people saying Trump will go to win. There is no way Trump would ever win in California. I mean, let's just be honest.
So I mean, there's like it's pretty obvious that like North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Texas, it really looks like they're going for Trump, and they have called states for Biden that have been much closer with a lot fewer percentage of the votes in, and it's just like they just don't want to call those states.
Oh yeah, they don't want to call because it would just embarrass themselves.
Looks like Trump's going to win Ohio too.
Yeah, and I saw that. I was like, yeah. Again, it's just the absentee ballots at first, and then the votes will be counted up, and it's going to flip to red. That's what's been the entire story of tonight. Is that they slowly come in from, okay, it looks blue, turn red. Same thing happened to Kentucky. People are like, oh, worry about it. I'm like, no. Kentucky is going to be red. Trust me. People just need to calm down.
You're right, David. I meant West Coast, not East Coast. Yeah, but even with all the West Coast, that's still just 192 electoral votes for Biden. You need 270 to win, so there's still everything to play for at election night 2020.
Yeah, well, by the way, I'm you can easily say Montana gets it, and I think again it's gonna get really. I think by midnight you're gonna have some of these states that you didn't think was gonna flip will flip. For example, I think something like Minnesota is gonna flip, and you see how if that happens, and same as Arizona, which they're still not counting all the votes yet, so I think that's gonna flip as well.
I don't know. Minnesota is 57% for Biden. I'd be very surprised if they flipped.
Well, it's getting closer.
Considering it is closer, but considering that the last time they went red was the Richard Nixon landslide, I doubt Minnesota is.
But if it looks like, honestly, he's still going to probably get Wisconsin, as much as I'm looking at Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania. If he keeps getting this lead up in Pennsylvania and Ohio, and if he flips Virginia, the race is over at that point. I mean, that's pretty much it. And
if he gets North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Texas, then I think that's it.
Oh yeah,
and it looks like he's going to get him.
Oh yeah, and when you look at all of this, and if he wins the popular vote too, which it looks like he will, if it keeps going this way, that means he's going to have a mandate. I mean, he will have a mandate, and that's going to be something that the Democrats, who not only lost the Supreme Court, but also this as well. I don't think they can get the Senate back, but this was going to be stinging for them for a long time, and they can still win tonight. But even then, it's just going to get even. It just looks like it's going to be just a very, very, very long time till they get back on their horse. So.
Yeah. Samuel Schott says, why can't we have someone like Thomas Sowell as president, someone who's sensible about the economy? Thomas Sowell is 90 years old, I believe.
Yeah.
And I would put the sharpness of his mind above either Trump or Biden in what, their 70s?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he could have ran because I think he doesn't want it because politics is a nasty and horrible business. And he's probably like, you know what, he's better just being like, you know, more of a teacher and a philosopher. I guarantee he could sleep more comfortable at night doing what he did in his profession than being like a politician and such. You know, that's, I think, more important. You could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. They really should have. They really should have called pretty much the entire East Coast by now, and I don't know why they're not.
They're trying to really make it's media thing, man. It's like, oh, it's all the media stuff. It's like, you know, we want to make things a horse race, but it's really not.
But it's not. That's not going to change the reality of it.
Well, but that it's TV and ratings, man. That's what it is, and I hate to do that. You hate to say it, but that's what it is. And if they think they're going to call for Biden, that they're going to lose clicks or whatever. Yeah. Oh, guess what? I'm looking at Peter Pundit's daily. Jo Jorgensen actually won I think she won a county in Minnesota. Otter
cool.
She's leading around with 20%. Following behind Allison Kennedy, Gloria Lavara, Brock Pierce, and the interesting Kanye West, who has actually got around 1,000 votes. I think he, let's see. I think if people voted for him, let's see, where is it? See, I gotta see. Mississippi has 1,000. I think I checked. He has over like 25,000 votes for Kanye West, even as a write-in. So. Yeah.
We're not forgetting about Alaska and Hawaii. They just haven't closed their polls yet. Well, I think Alaska just closed.
Oh, yeah. Alaska is going for Trump, so we could just put that 3-point up there. But, yeah. And
no, Alaska polls close at 1 a.m. Hawaii actually closes before Alaska does. That's weird.
Yeah.
They close at midnight.
All right.
But all total, that's, okay, 8 votes for Alaska. Okay, so that's 12 electoral votes all total. So,
yeah,
that's not gonna. I don't see either of them tipping the balance.
No, it's not, and it's going to be a very long. Like I said, it's going to be a night. So, again, I think Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Florida, they should call that. I think they already did for Florida. But they should call this and say it's official. North Carolina goes to Trump and all this stuff. Ohio looks like that's gone. Texas is already gone.
Florida is pretty decisively for Trump.
Yeah, and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania is still holding on to that lead.
Oh, Pennsylvania, he's 56.1% in Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
if
he gets
lead.
Pennsylvania, it's done. If he gets Ohio, it's pretty. Yeah, it's. And
still kind of neck and neck in North Carolina. Hang on, let me see what the Secretary of State says about that.
Well, so far I'm getting
97.71 of precincts in. Trump has 49.96 of the votes to Biden's 48.59. So
People's Pundit Daily, he has 50% of the vote, and Biden 48.72. So, yeah.
Oh, God. The way they are reporting this is just shameful. They're trying to call every state for Biden as early as they can, and they're just holding off when Trump has solid leads.
It's pointless, but like I said, it's television. It's just television, people. It makes money. It's what to keep things close when it's not really is. And honestly, let's be. I mean, we're not going to ever see I honestly wonder what would have happened if Trump actually did a tire thing like what Reagan did in the 80s or something. How long would they actually, would they even call any states then? Would they only call, for example, Minnesota? That would be it? Everything else is too. Meanwhile, everyone's like, wait.
The only state we can call at this point is the District of Columbia.
Yes.
No other state can be called. And you've got
Small
like one
problem
little
with
blue
that one.
dot there.
Yeah. Mm.
I don't know. NBC hasn't called Rhode Island yet. I think NBC is
I
following
think the way
Reuters,
it's being
though.
reported just
Yeah.
goes to show how much they hate Trump. I mean, that's basically
It
all
is. And don't worry, the same thing with it's the same thing with Bush. And a couple years later, man, we love him.
Oh.
Even though he was basically everyone called him like the most evil person in the world. They love him now. I'm like, and he's like, he's a great painter. I'm like,
Yeah.
Did anyone remember this stuff? Like he was the worst president ever and all this stuff. I'm like,
Yeah. It's pretty.
I think, JC, the reason why Maine hasn't been called is because Biden's only at 50% right even, and there's only 26% of the vote in. So yeah, that's kind of reasonable to have that be too early to call.
All right. So I'm looking at the Associated Press results so far, and right now it says 209 for Biden, 118 for Donald Trump. Now here's the plot twist: the popular vote, Biden's got 45.4 million votes. Donald Trump has 47.7 million votes. So,
yeah, we mentioned that earlier. That's been the trend all night.
Yes.
Trump getting more of the popular vote.
But Biden getting more of the electoral vote.
Right. The flip of what it was before. So what are the Democrats going to say if
they win? It's going to prove something that I mentioned on Quora, that the only reason Democrats are angry about the thing is because they didn't win.
And yeah they're angry.
They're going to complain a lot less when they win, if they win with a lower popular vote. Of course, we don't exactly know yet. These are the results as they stand. They're not the final results.
I just think it's going to be a again, I still have no idea why they, the people. I mean, hey, if you voted for Biden, that's fine. If you think his policies will work, but man, I look to see all the people from the primaries. I'm like, you couldn't get, like, for example, maybe I know Andrew Yang. Maybe his plan was a little too far fetched, but during this pandemic, people were like, "Hey, I think that universal income thing wasn't a bad idea," or Tulsi, or maybe, I don't know, Julian Castro, someone, because at least someone who is at least younger and actually won't need to go to bed at like 8, like at 7 o'clock at night, that type of person. That
just to be clear, when I say no, we aren't, I'm referring to the two major parties. So
no, we're not taking a side on Bush versus Trump. We're just watching the beautiful chaos.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the chaos, man, and again, it's 2016 all over again, and and the Democrats still haven't learned, and they're gonna blame third-party voters. They're gonna blame people who write in people. They're They're not gonna take that long look in the mirror. They never do, and it's frustrating.
Well, and like I said earlier, there are so many potentially hilarious outcomes to this. I don't know which one to root for.
Well, JC Armitage, I have a funny thing about the riots, because I jokingly told this to Shane earlier. The joke is that there's going to be riots no matter who wins. If Trump wins, there's going to be riots for obvious reasons. And if Biden wins, people are going to riot because they're going to think, hell yeah, Biden's in charge. I can riot and destroy and not worry about getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Tulsi was the one Dem that could have maybe considered not voting Libertarians. I did like Tulsi as a candidate. I mean, I didn't agree with her policies. I wouldn't have voted for her, but that would have been a really good candidate for the Democrats to put forward. And I think if they had put her forward, if they had given her the nomination, then I think, because, I mean, all of this and Biden is just kind of like, it's neck and neck right now. If it had been Tulsi instead of Biden, I think she would have cleaned Trump's clock.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, she would probably win Florida, maybe even Texas, and such. Texas is getting to that blue stuff. Tulsi would have probably...
And possibly even she could have taken Pennsylvania. She could have taken Virginia. She might have taken North Carolina.
Yeah, and that's would have been. But again, they just did not... I'm like, again, the Democrats don't learn. It's like, you just want to say, you want to sit them down and be like, you could be doing something great, but you keep screwing things up again.
Yeah, I think that's it, Great. She was anti-war, and we can't have that, can we?
Yeah. And she shut down Kamala Harris about,
Oh
reporting
man,
what
did
happened.
she? that was her Ron Paul moment. I said that at the time.
Yep, and then Google just said no, we're gonna basically blacklist your name and not make any word searchable at all.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, the left. Yeah, I'm sorry, but the political left are the biggest hypocrites when it comes to war.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they were quiet when President Obama was bombing everywhere, and the deportation as well, saying we hate these kids, but who built them? And they become quiet. It's just
all wars are bad unless we're waging them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, going back to the whole historical hypocrisy and all that reminds me of this one funny joke I saw one time, and it was talking about the Iranian coup d'etat of 1953, and it shows Khrushchev saying, "I cannot believe you Americans and British would interfere with the peaceful democratic relationships of a nation that was no threat to you. That is a shame, and we, the people of the Soviet Union, would never do such a thing. Comrade Khrushchev, the Hungarians say they don't want communism anymore. What? Those Bohemian traitors? Send in the tanks after them." Which is a reference to the 1956 Hungarian Revolution.
All right, everyone. Heather is home, so we are going to have to wrap this up. I was really hoping that they would report more decisive results by this point.
Heather's home, so we got to leave because Shay needs to give his wife some lovin's.
Or some, just, whatever. Anyway, thanks for letting me
hey,
on.
no one ever on their deathbed say, "I wish I'd spent less time with my family." I mean, that's just the way it is. You got to have your priorities. You got to think about what's important. Plus, she's a lot better looking than you mugs. So.
Yeah. Too bad.
You've never seen what I look like, so.
Yeah, too bad we're not on Zoom. Then you can show her how much you love her, and then we'll be like, Shade, your camera's still on. I was watching.
But thank you so much for doing this to me. This kind of makes me wish we could go past 11 like ordinarily on the live streams, because this has been a lot of fun. It's good to have Albuquerque and Duke CT back for this one. It's been a while, guys. It's been fun. I wish we could keep going.
Yeah, man. Anyway, I'll see y'all later. Thanks for letting me on, man.
All right, we'll see you.
Yeah, have a good evening.
Good.
And thanks again to Chris and Pip and Wes and everyone else who participated. Everyone who participated in the chat, and thank you for watching. Please consider going to donate.pagosity.tv to support what I do.